For girls, it's Olivia. Wall Street right now, the Dow is down 31 points. This is CBS News.
Find your next great hire with Indeed. Their hiring platform makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates all in the same place. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
If you love to spend time in the kitchen, elevate your cooking game with a pantry full of premium hemp products from Mary Jane's Hemp Shop in Waukesha. Mary Jane sells flights of Himalayan sea salts, raw sugar flights, local raw honey, and just in time for summer, a variety of salt rubs for meat and grilling. Not sure how to use the products in your own kitchen? Check out Mary Jane's YouTube channel for ideas and recipes. Elevate your cooking game at Mary Jane's Hemp Shop, 335 West Main Street, Waukesha, or online at maryjanespantry.shop.
Have fun on the lake this summer. Treat yourself and find the watercraft you want at Action Boathouse Showroom just south of 59 on 164 in Waukesha. Check out the fun and versatile Sea-Doo Switch with its powerful Rotax jet engine. Action Boathouse Showroom also has a selection of luxury fishing boats or pontoon boats from 7 top USA manufacturers. The team at Action Boathouse Showroom is excited to help you launch into the sun this season and onto the lake. Action Boathouse Showroom just north of 59 on 164 in Waukesha.
Real Chili's been serving up mouthwatering goodness to the people of Milwaukee since 1931. Their famous secret award-winning chili recipe is the same as it was back then and a local treasure. From lunch to dinner to late night breakfast, Real Chili has you covered. And now you can bring the Real Chili to your next party, tailgate, wedding, or office gathering with their unbeatable catering options. And don't forget about their Real Love party packs, perfect for small groups, and pick up from their 2 convenient locations, downtown Milwaukee and near Marquette University campus. Visit them at realchili.com. That's realchili.com.
Zocalo Food Truck Park is so much fun. They have such variety in one place. You name it. Ice cream, bagels, sushi, tacos, pizza, to tasty sandwiches, and a fun full bar to boot with some craft cocktails and beers. You can even host a private party or reserve a heated hut. Support local food entrepreneurs with family and friends and Taste Milwaukee. Open Tuesday through Sunday. Find us at ZocaloMKE.com. That's ZocaloMKE.com.
Enter a world of wizards, hobbits, and gnomes at the Gift Nook in Kewaskum. Explore an enchanted land with locally made, handcrafted gifts themed from nerdy to nature, and experience an interactive hobbit home. Visit the Gift Nook for a truly mystical shopping experience. 222 Main Street in Kewaskum, or call 414-839-0066. That's 414-839-0066, or find them on Facebook and Instagram.
Love the outdoors but lack the gear to explore it? River West Outdoor Pro Shop has everything you need. Rock climbing, snowshoeing, kayaking, and more. Don't know what you need? Come visit the shop located in the basement of Milwaukee Turners at 1034 North Villar Phillips Avenue. Their friendly staff will help you find what you need. For questions and hours, call 414-272-1733, extension 16. 414-272-1733, extension 16. The Devil's Advocates Radio Show.
He's the grave digger, Gilbert Brown.
Where can you go where
It's great to be here to speak directly to the woke mob.
The liberals have basically made up this whole agenda that guacamole is made of avocados. It's not the truth.
Ticked off, tee off. This is it.
Scooby boo boo, Scooby doo.
Moving Wisconsin forward, one joke at a time. This is Kristen Bry with As Goes Wisconsin.
Yada, yada, yada. Hello, Wisconsin! Do you like your job? 844-967-2789. Or if you were retired, what was the most satisfying job you ever had in your career? And I guess it's not even, do you like your job? Are you satisfied with your job? Are those two different things, Jane Madner?
Yeah, they can be.
Being satisfied versus liking it?
Yeah, you can be satisfied with what you're getting paid and you can be satisfied with what you're doing, I guess. But being happy is an extra good element.
844-96-PARTY. Are you satisfied in your job? Or if you're not working anymore, what job were you the most satisfied in? And I ask this because, surprise, people like their jobs.
What? I thought we were all miserable, lazy, do-nothings, and we hate
And
everything.
nobody
and
wants to work
And we're
anymore.
quiet quitting all over the place.
The Conference Board released new data showing that 62.3% of U.S. workers are satisfied with their job, the highest share since the Business Research Organization started the survey in 1987.
Wow.
So that's saying something.
Yes, it certainly is. My goodness.
And so I was curious as I saw that in this morning's headlines of the people who listen to As Goes Wisconsin, who are listening now. The thing is, always the tricky thing about asking these questions, especially about working, because some people may be listening to this show as a podcast because they are actually working right now.
There is that, yes.
From 11 to 2.
Right.
A lot of people who have jobs, unless, so if you can text, if you're listening to us while you're working, obviously you can text us if you don't want to pick up the phone. But I just thought it was interesting as far as, people who are working, or when you think back at your career, what, not only were you satisfied, but what about your work made it a satisfying job?
Was it your colleagues? Was it management? Was it what you felt you accomplished or were accomplishing?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a greater good umbrella somehow? 844-967-2789, 844-96 party. Do you like your job?
Because so what's behind, at least what they're saying from this new data from this year, or that was released this week, is it's not the perks. I mean, not that every job has perks, but as far as, I worked at a job that had, the kombucha on tap and yoga wellness retreats.
Oh God, that just makes me roll my eyes.
But it's more, at least for now, the resurgence of employee happiness is mainly attributed to hybrid work arrangements, job flexibility, and the tight labor market that has allowed people to leave the jobs they hate for jobs they like, or at least jobs that they hate less.
Step in the right direction.
And so, which I think makes a lot of sense. I think that there is something I would say and not that I don't think I would ever say that I worked for a drill sergeant, let's say, as far as I think the consistent of my life has always been no one puts more pressure on me than me.
I think you're spot on with that.
And even when I was working in tech, I didn't necessarily have bosses who were like breathing down my neck for stuff, but I put an immense amount of pressure on myself. But also, when you work in an office, you manage a team, the expectation that you're in the office, and this would have been 2011 to 2017. I had a job where it was expected that you went to the office every day. And when I left tech in 2017 and I started doing consulting and freelance work and trying to figure out what my next step was going to be, what was nice is like, I can just get this done whenever I need to get it done. So I could work at 7:00 at night.
Right.
And if I wanted to take a lunch meeting in the middle of the day, I didn't feel like I was sneaking out of the office, or like doctor's appointments or stuff like that, when you're like, you have this weird sense of guilt that if you're not visibly seen in the office, you're doing something wrong.
You're playing hooky.
And so it is interesting to think that to a certain extent, for job satisfaction and the jobs that allow it, that maybe not totally remote work, but at least continuing to have some kind of flexibility and hybrid, and employers trusting their employees will continue to be a high value for workers, and why they would stay at jobs longer, knowing that they value that as much as maybe they value a higher paycheck.
844-967-2789, 844-96-party. Texter from the 715. I work at a nursing home in maintenance. I like my job, but there are lots of gaps in help, and that really starts to wear on others. And that's kind of a problem across the board.
Yeah. And what's so hard with the nursing homes, childcare, teachers, other nurses, the slippery slope of what's hard about our job is we don't have enough help because there's a shortage. And so then potentially you get people who are working burned out, and then they leave, and then that exacerbates the problem.
Right.
And so Yeah, that is, and that's not a job you can do hybrid.
No.
No, when you're doing nursing home maintenance, I'm pretty sure you got to be there.
Yeah, I not remote. We're not quite that good with AI just yet.
There's no cloud technology that
No, it's going to do that for you.
But we were asking, do you like your job? Are you satisfied in your job? Or if you are retired, what job was the most satisfying for you? And I think this is probably different for each person as far as what you probably aligns with what your value system is and where you are in your life. I'm sure someone who is single and maybe not married yet, or certainly childless, has a different set of criteria that they look for in a job than once you have kids. And so I think it's just an interesting question. And I think it's interesting that the data that came back from this survey is that so far, right now, people are pretty satisfied.
844-967-2789, 844-96-PARTY. Lester from Milwaukee joining us. Hey, Lester, thanks for calling. What do you want to say about what you like about your job?
Well, I work in the service industry, and actually, Kristen,
I know Lester.
We've met before.
We went to high school together. Hi, Lester.
Full disclosure.
Hi. So, do you like your job?
But yeah, well, also I like working in the service industry, right? And everybody's always giving me crap about getting a real job, right?
Yeah.
And the reason I have never gotten a real job is because I like my job, right? I've always liked my job. I've always liked meeting new people. I've always liked the day is never the same, right? So that's, I think, I mean, although people are leaving the service industry in droves or have been because of other, kind of crappier parts about service industry.
Yeah.
I've always liked service industry. And I think that's the one thing that people do love about the service industry, right? Is that there's some flexibility. And there's also just, the day is always different. It's not the normal grind that I see when I think of, office work.
Staring at a computer all day?
Right.
Would you, how mind numbing does staring at a computer all day sound to you after years of working in the service industry?
I could. So I got my degree in marine biology, right? And right before my senior year, during my senior year, I was doing my research, and 90% of research biology is sitting in a lab crunching data. With a lab with
it's not
windows
petting
or a lab.
Walruses.
Yeah, exactly. And so it just became this. I just realized this is definitely not for me. I can't do this. I can't not speak to people for 6 or 7 hours a day. I went and visited a guy that works at the Smithsonian, and his office is in the basement of the Smithsonian Institute with no windows.
Wow.
Doesn't sound fun to me.
Yeah, for some people, Lester, that's fine, and they're not necessarily
100%.
as social as you, but you're obviously in the right line of work because you like people.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you want to give a shout out for where you work so people can come check out your establishment?
Yeah, so I run the Venture Brewing Company in kind of West Milwaukee on 55th and North Avenue. We brew our own beer and roast our own coffee.
There you go.
Nice.
2 types of brew.
Nicely done, Lester.
Thanks for the call,
That's
Lester.
right.
Good to hear from you.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're asking, are you satisfied with your job? And if so, why? Because I think it's different for a lot of people. Like for Lester, obviously being able to be social and talk to people, and the days are different and you have flexibility. And I think, for some people with the service industry, they're on an opposite schedule from everyone in the office, right? It's the days you're making the most money are nights, weekends, holidays.
Yep.
And so for some people that's great. Some people that's not great. And so we'd love to hear from you on whether you like your job. And if you're not working anymore, what job were you the most satisfied with? We have a message from our friend Joe McClear. My job is okay. I work for myself. My boss is cool, but my employee can be a brat.
I can see that, Joe. I can see the challenge there. You have to manage those things. It's tricky.
And that is something to be said as far as some people I think of working for yourself as the dream.
Not necessarily.
And I will say I don't know if I mean, everything I've done with As Goes Wisconsin as its own company was basically freelance, right? So I didn't have employees, but I was just having this conversation with my friend, and then we'll go to break, who's a radiation nurse, and she just had her baby. And she worked like 12-hour shifts while she was
Wow.
pregnant, and not always, but sometimes. And I was over at her house playing with her baby, and I was like, I had to like check myself during the first trimester when I was so tired, because I was like, I don't have a labor intensive job, like a physically laborious job.
Where you have to stand.
I sit
and- right.
here, and I was like, intellectually, I think it's a lot of work. And she said to me, she was like, she's like, when I come home, I come home. My job does
It's
not come
done.
home with me.
Yeah.
And I would say, certainly for myself, and I think for any entrepreneur, anyone who's working themselves, it's hard to ever turn it off, because you're always thinking about the business and how to grow or what's next. And so for some people, that's great. And some people are like, I just want my 9 to 5, and then I want my weekends, slam that computer and not come back till Monday. So we would love to hear from you. Are you satisfied with your job? 844-967-2789. That's 844-96-PARTY. We'll be right back.
Hey, all you vintage vixens, rockabilly rebels, and cool cats. Find the retro-inspired fashion you're looking for in South Milwaukee at Hollyville. This one-woman small business is known for creating many one-of-a-kind looks reminiscent of the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and sourcing out to other retro clothing brands from around the world. It's where vintage meets modern. Hollyville, 916 Milwaukee Avenue, South Milwaukee. 414-220-0055. That's 414-220-0055, or log on to hollyville.com.
The four most dreaded words. My computer is down. Oh boy, that bites. Remain sane. PC and Pat together will fix the pain. Rated #1 PC doctor in Southeast Wisconsin. Great service, great rates, and fast service with no trip charge. Experts with PCs, laptops, network servers, protection, backups, and can even help you remotely. Click PCandBack.com or call us at 262-706-3235. That's 262-706-3235. Remain sane. We fix the pain.
We're all familiar with the 3 whats. What is it? What can it do for me? And what does it cost? At Country Financial, we can help you find the answers with insurance coverage to help protect what's most important to you, all at a price you can afford. So while you're juggling work and kids while trying to keep an eye on your future, we'll make sure we're one of the first ones there when you need us most. What should you do next? Call Matthew Holbrook, your Country Financial representative, at 414-332-2137 and chat about your insurance needs today. 414-332-2137.
Here's your updated forecast on the Shaw. Scattered rain showers likely this afternoon, otherwise overcast skies. Daytime highs approaching 70, winds out of the east 8 to 15 miles an hour. Chance for scattered rain showers again tonight, lows dip down to about 55, overcast skies. Chance for scattered rain showers tomorrow, daytime highs approaching 68, cloudy skies. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Eric Height. Currently, it's 68 degrees.
Waukesha, home of Les Paul. Waukesha's famous farmers market. And The Shaw. WAUK.
When I'm in the car, I'm always listening.
Of Les Paul. Waukesha's famous farmers market. And The Shaw. WAUK.
When I'm in the car, I'm always listening.
Of Les Paul. Waukesha's famous farmers market. And The Shaw. WAUK.
Imagine me and you, I do. I think about you day and night. It's only right to think about the girl you love and hold her tight. So happy together. If I should call you up.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane Matnair. Two women who are very satisfied with their jobs, right?
Yes, very much so.
I
Wasn't
think
always. I haven't always.
you
been.
haven't always been.
Nope.
I have those checks in days where I'm either frustrated or, the slog of like, oh, we have to like think of another 3 hours of content. And all I want to do is this other thing this morning. Because my ADHD brain sometimes is like, no, I don't want to work on that today.
Zing, let's
But
go
for
read it.
the like overwhelmingly we have pretty cool jobs.
Yes, we definitely do.
We have pretty cool jobs.
Yes, we do.
And so certainly we are satisfied with our jobs, but we are asking you if you are satisfied with your job, or what about your job or any job is satisfying? What does the criteria of that look like for you? And we're asking this because there is a new set of data out from the conference board saying that 62.3% of U.S. workers are satisfied with their job, which is the highest share since they started asking that question in 1987.
That's
and so,
pretty good.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
It is 844-967-2789, 844-96-PARTY. Texter from the 414, as a skilled trade working in the maintenance department, I never knew what I would be working on from day to day. A great career I enjoyed every day. I knew many people that hated coming to work, but I had a good time and I looked forward to working, but I also enjoyed my time away from work too. We got to have a little balance.
Absolutely.
Got to have a little balance. From the 262, I'm self-employed, work by myself. In some ways it's great. In some ways it's really, really hard.
Mm-hmm.
But as someone who builds furniture, doesn't that sound great?
Send us a link to your furniture so we can oogle and ogle at it.
As someone who builds furniture and home decor items, it's really satisfying to finish pieces, big or small. Handcrafting things is extremely satisfying. I don't doubt that at all.
I can imagine, the sense of accomplishment once it's done, and then
Right?
it's sold, and the people who buy it love it, and it finds a home. And
You made it with your own two hands and your sweat and love, and I think that just gives me chills.
I always I'm sure it'd be so interesting to see a cross comparison of people who work with their hands, people who work in service of others and have, either clients, patients, customers, but some people really love research and they don't actually want to deal with anyone.
Well, and it's a good thing there are a spot for those people who don't mind working in basements with no windows.
But it would be interesting because I think I have read that before, that despite labor shortages and how burnt out nurses, teachers, some of those folks who work in direct service with others are right now, the actual work is much more rewarding than like a marketing manager at some tech company.
Which is what you did.
Art.
Did you not?
Basically,
yes.
It was like I sat in between the marketing department who created leads and the sales team that closed deals. My team was following up on leads and also like cold calling, trying to root out deals at ideal customers with the right person at those companies. So it was a lot of cold calling, cold emailing.
I would have sucked that job.
And so, I think for people who work in those jobs, a lot of those corporate type jobs, you have to build the culture of your teammates and the kombucha and stuff like that, because you're like, what are we actually doing? What is our actual mission? And then that company in particular, it was, we're trying to help you optimize your website so that you can basically sell more stuff to people.
Well, now that's understandable, though.
That to be passionate about that?
Not to be passionate, but at least when you phrase it like that, I understand what you were doing.
Oh, yeah. It was a tool that said on your website that basically you, instead of being like a coder that could like actually have to like know how to like do HTML or anything like that, you could like drop and drag and make changes to your website and then test the traffic to be like, did more people click this button or did they click this button when we phrased it differently and stuff like that.
844-967-2789, 844-96-PARTY, text and or call. From the 608, we're taking your calls and texts on whether or not you like your job. There's two of us listening to you on Richland Center Radio. Yay, we are UPS drivers who love our jobs, especially from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Thank you, Jane and Kristen. Thank you, 608.
Thank you.
That means more than you realize. It really does.
I would love to know that. I feel like those are, if two UPS drivers who love their job, I feel like these are the types of people who on the Ring cameras will end up going viral. They'll like, how those happen every once in a while now, because they'll do something nice or they'll leave a nice message or they'll do like a dance or something in front of a Ring camera and then they post it on TikTok and then all of a sudden it's got like 3 million views.
Go for that, Richland Center. Go do
But-
some dancing this afternoon.
Don't do some dancing in front of doorknobs. Doorbells.
Doorbells.
So, well, this is fun. I want to keep hearing if you like your job. What about your job that you like? Because this is a fun topic for a Friday. I do want to at least acknowledge when we come back some of the stuff that's happening at the border. But let's keep this rolling. So I'd love to hear from you. 844-967-2789. Do you like your job? And what about it is satisfying? This is As Goes Wisconsin.
No matter how they toss the dice, it had to be. The only one for me is you, and you for me. So happy together, so happy together. And how is the weather? So happy together. We're happy together. So happy
From 5 Points and beyond, from Southeast Wisconsin and to the world, this is The Shaw, 540 AM and 101.1 FM, WAUK.
CBS News brief. A former Marine has surrendered to face manslaughter charges in the Jordan Neely's New York subway chokehold case. An attorney for Neely's family says,
No one on that train asked Jordan, what's wrong? How can I help you? He was choked to death. Instead,
Thomas Kenneth is Daniel Penny's attorney.
The case will now go to court. We expect an arraignment will occur this afternoon, and the process will unfold from there.
New challenges at the southern border after the expiration of the Title 42 expulsion policy. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas.
We provide lawful, safe, and orderly pathways for people to come to the United States when they qualify for relief. We have a security and a humanitarian obligation to cut the smugglers out.
Damage scattered around Oklahoma after a spate of tornadoes.
You can see everyone out in the street wanting to help and make sure that everybody is okay and asking if they can do anything for anyone.
CBS News Brief, I'm Steve Kathan.
The Civic Media Network of radio stations across Wisconsin. We are your hometown radio, refreshed.
I got one job, two job, three when I need them. I got 5 roommates in this one studio, but I never really see them. And we all came America trying to get a lap dance from Lady Freedom. But now Lady Liberty is acting like Hillary Banks with a prenup. Man, I was brave, sailing on graves. Don't think I didn't notice those tombstones.
Do you like your job? Are you satisfied? Are you not satisfied? What would make you more satisfied in your job? 844-967-2789. And we're asking, I think we're getting more texts because we're getting people who are at their jobs right now.
Yes, they are actually working.
But right now, apparently in the US, and granted, the survey that is providing this data was conducted before all the tech layoffs started to happen. So maybe it's a little different now. And if the labor market is not as tight, it could change things as far as people's options to get different jobs. But as of right now, there has been, and this is the highest approval rate, I guess it's approval rating, satisfactory rating that has been recorded from the conference board since 1987 when they started asking this question, and they basically found it's because of hybrid work, job flexibility, and being able to, like, a competitive market where they can go find jobs that they like more than feeling stuck in the one that they have. And so I just thought it'd be interesting to hear from people on whether or not they fall into that 62% or not, or if they're in the 48 that is like, or the 38, sorry, I can do math. That's like, F this.
Well, and I just, on the flip side, this just tells me how many people were miserable for a long time in their old jobs because they felt they had no options. And I know employers are in a tough situation, like you said, trying to find workers and to keep the staffing levels up. But this is the first time, at least in my estimation, that American workers have really had a choice.
In your memory?
In my memory, as far as maybe in the 80s, but things really started tightening up after 88 and 89 and into the 90s and 2000s and there were just a lot of people, I think, who felt stuck. They were stuck.
And it's interesting because I don't know if things are gonna like, yes, like as we said, like there could be, I don't know, this looming recession that keeps maybe coming, maybe not coming. So that could change what the labor market is in general. But I also we talk about it in Wisconsin, like the labor participation rate and how many people are working.
Right.
And we said last week that when it comes to prime working age people, so what is that, 25 to 55?
54, 55.
Wisconsin is one of the strongest states with the highest labor participation rate in the country. So the people who are of that age range in Wisconsin, a lot of them are working. The highest percentage of them are working basically compared to other states. And we said, part of the issue is that we are aging faster than the rest of the country, but the rest of the country is also aging pretty fast.
Right.
And
the boomers are a huge chunk of the population.
And this was from Axios, I think this week, of why labor shortages could be here to stay. And it's because Americans are getting older. And so even if the job market cools off from how hot it is right now, it can mean that shortages are here and they're part of the equation. And so, having options and needing to be as the employer of having a place where people want to work will continue to make you competitive, to have people actually continue to want to work for your place. But it's also just interesting as far as if we will ever go back to kind of that feeling of, for a lot of people, feeling like they're trapped in their job.
And I think, and I do think that there are some people who are still stuck, and that's largely because of healthcare.
Yeah.
Because if you have a job if you have an employer that provides healthcare and you would like to do something else, but you don't have the healthcare option, that's going to keep you where you were.
Yeah.
Because it's just so, the potential of going bankrupt when someone in your family gets sick is terrifying.
Yeah.
And that can happen even when you have health insurance. Which is not very reassuring. But
it's not very reassuring, that insurance that you pay into. You're like, wait, what? How much why do I pay a premium if I'm still 15,000 in the hole for this thing?
Because those insurance companies, they need big fountains on their properties.
That is true. Well, if you still would like to tell us why you love your job, if you're happy with your job at all, what would make you happier, we will continue to take your calls and texts. 844-967-2789. That's 844-96-PARTY. Happy Friday. This is not as happy of a topic, but it's one of those things that it's been in the headlines all week. And it feels like we need to at least acknowledge it, even though it is so complicated and not something that we're going to solve in the next 8 minutes.
No.
But I wanted to at least acknowledge what's happening at the border and what a mess it is, seemingly, because Title 42, which was the Trump era policy that allowed the U.S. to expel migrants at the southern border without processing asylum claims, ended last night. And since March 2020, the U.S. used that rule to 2,700,000 times.
Wow.
To turn away migrants on the grounds that they were doing so to prevent the spread of coronavirus. And so with that ending, and it had to end because all of the COVID policies are ending because COVID is, as far as the emergency,
it's over.
Is over. And so now the U.S. returns to a policy that gives migrants the chance to have their asylum cases heard. However, those who cross improperly are going to face more severe penalties, like a 5-year ban on reentry. But we're already seeing it's going to be a spike in border crossings, and we are not, as a country, we are not really prepared for it at all. 60,000 people were waiting near the border to enter the U.S. on Wednesday. Border officials have apprehended a record 11,000 people trying to enter the U.S. on Tuesday and Wednesday. And it's, and I think the thing is, when we were hearing these numbers, that the point that I want to make is like, all of these are people. Like, it's a mess, and you can blame Biden, you can blame Trump, you can certainly blame Congress, who continues to do nothing.
We can go back decades and blame people for this.
And, but ultimately, numbers are different than individual stories of what the people who are trying to get to this country have gone through to even get this far. And I just wanted to, one story. Just share one story that I read this morning of 2 parents and their 2 children and what they went through to get to the border. And I'm not saying this is, we should feel bad for them, so we need to loosen, we need to have no borders. Like, this is a issue where I don't think I know where I stand yet, because in certain ways, it's not as simple as saying, well, like, look at these labor shortages. Like, it would do our country well if we could figure out the processing system and have more judges and have more lawyers and like expedite how like the backlog of over 1 million people who need to have their cases heard, and like have a system to set people up, because we're not having any more babies at the pace that we see we need to be, as far as like the value that immigrants provide to our country. And at the same time, I know it can't just be a free-for-all where you don't actually understand who's coming into the country.
You have to have a vetting
and process. You have to have a vetting process. And so like, I understand this is more complicated, and I'm not saying that I have, I know enough about this topic to like fight tooth and nail on my opinion. But what I will say, and what I do think about, is how most of us probably listening to this show right now will never go through the terror of what a lot of like these thousands of people have gone through to try to even have a chance
just to get
here.
The border.
Like, I think about, our first topic of like, do we like our jobs? And like, unless you're working in some like high risk, very dangerous work, being disgruntled about work stuff is very, it's just like kind of putting things in perspective. And so, I'm just going to share the story, and I'm probably will end it there, as far as just like a reminder that all of these people who are being summed up as 10,000 people, 60,000 people,
all lumped together,
2.7 million people who were turned away, 1 million people on a backlog of the like people seeking asylum who are in the country right now. Like, these are really, really big numbers that are really hard to then wrap your head around, that each of them are an individual story and each of them are a person. And so, Juan and Jeslyn, 26 and 22, and their 2 children, ages 5 and 3, left Venezuela 4 months ago. They were determined to seek a better life in the U.S. and undeterred by immigration challenges they knew they'd face. For days, the young family trekked through the dangerous jungles of the Darien Gap, the isthmus bridging South and Central America, Juan told Axios, with help from an interpreter. That's where they were robbed. Juan and Jeslyn dug through their bags to show Axios their identification documents taped together after the attackers had torn them apart. 3 women in their migrant group of the 60 were raped, they said. The family survived and eventually made it to the Texas border, then spent 3 weeks in Ciudad Juarez trying to schedule an appointment with border officials through an app the Biden administration has touted as an orderly legal way to schedule meetings with migration officials. They finally chose to cross into the U.S. and risk turning themselves into Border Patrol. They were lucky enough to avoid being expelled to Mexico, as hundreds of Venezuelans had been in March, according to government data. Juan and Jesselyn were processed by the Border Patrol and can now settle in the U.S. until their next steps in the immigration process. They have no relatives in the U.S., they have no money, and they originally planned to go to Orlando, but then they heard about the Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' new laws targeting undocumented immigrants. So now they're trying to find a way to get to Boston.
Wow.
They did all of that with a 3 and a 5-year-old.
Wow.
And that is that's a story of a family who made it. And it's just the reminder that as you maybe have very strong opinions on what we should or should not be doing, just remembering that they're people.
And again, blame for this situation, we can spread across both sides going back decades. Because Congress, it's one of those icky hot potato things. I don't want to deal with it because it will make me unpopular with some of my constituents. The whole DACA thing, the Dreamers program. These people who were brought here as children, and in many cases very young children, are now in their 30s and 40s.
Oh yeah, but it's what's frustrating to me is in at least the last 2 administrations, Trump's policies, the family separation, but also with Biden right now, like there's no clear mandate. Like he's kind of like wishy-washy on where he stands on this, where he's taking some kind of like hardline Trump stuff, but kind of like running on progressive, like, it's just there's no mandate and there's no objective that like brings order to what it's supposed to look like at all. But ultimately, we keep pushing this to looking at the president. It's the president's fault. It's the president's fault. It's the president's fault wherever we are. But there's no president who can fix this with executive actions and administrative rules. Like without Congress actually passing a comprehensive immigration bill, which, they've seemed to be talking about for decades.
Yeah, and nothing gets done.
We're just going to keep ending back up here with ebbs and flows and dysfunction at the border. And it hurts American citizens and it hurts migrants who want to be here and like actually contribute to society. And it just creates more and more animosity through like everyone. And it's what sucks is that like, do any of us have any expectation or hope that Congress would actually get this done?
No. And how depressing is that?
It's just, especially with, another presidential, with elections every 2 years between midterms and the presidential election, it's just like nobody wants to touch it and they just want to blame it on whoever's in office.
Well, and that could lead one to believe that we don't want to solve this because then we can't point fingers at the other side and blame them for it.
Instead, and we can't raise money off of it.
And we can't raise money off of it either and scare people and try and terrify people. And it's a problem that needs to be addressed and both sides need to do this.
So I bring it up only because it's obviously...
Well, it's happening.
It's happening. Now. It's really important news. It is so meaty, and it is not something. It is not a. I think there is not a hill that I die on beyond trying to continue to remember our humanity, and the choice that any of these people make. Because if you think about how much try to think about how much we love Wisconsin, and you get people who are like, I would never leave Wisconsin. It's even with all of its flaws, like this is my home.
Right.
And same thing with people who are from the United States who are like, if they're critical of the United States, but like, this is my home. I would never leave because this is my culture. This is the country that I love.
Everything I know.
Most people feel that way. Most people love the country that they're from, even if they end up leaving. Like I think about Sepide, who came in and from Iran.
Iran, yeah.
And she loves her country. She does not love the regime, but she loves her country, and she's incredibly sad that she cannot go back because it's not safe. And so just continuing to remember the people who choose to do this, it's not to come take advantage of it's because they're left with no other option of how dangerous and unsafe it is where they're at, that they're willing to risk death and rape and their children's lives to try to get here. All right, when we come back, we'll have some fun with the headline quiz. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
Identidad falsa, brincamos muros o flotamos en balsa, la peleamos como Sandino en Nicaragua, somos como las plantas que crecen sin agua, sin pasaporte americano, porque la mitad de estamos en balsa, la peleamos como Sandino en Nicaragua, somos como las plantas que crecen sin agua, sin pasaporte americano, porque muros o flotamos en balsa.
Enter a world of wizards, hobbits, and gnomes at the Gift Nook in Kewaskum. Explore an enchanted land with locally made handcrafted gifts themed from nerdy to nature and experience an interactive hobbit home. Visit the Gift Nook for a truly mystical shopping experience. 222 Main Street in Kewaskum or call 414-839-0066. That's 414-839-0066 or find them on Facebook and Instagram. We're all familiar with the three whats. What is it? What can it do for me? And what does it cost? At Country Financial, we can help you find the answers with insurance coverage to help protect what's most important to you, all at a price you can afford. So while you're juggling work and kids while trying to keep an eye on your future, we'll make sure we're one of the first ones there when you need us most. What should you do next? Call Matthew Holbrook, your Country Financial representative at 414-332-2137 and chat about your insurance needs today. 414-332-2137.
How are you keeping your kids occupied this summer? River West Outdoor Educational Adventures offers activities featuring bike rides, canoeing, rock climbing, hiking, and more for kids in the greater Milwaukee area. They also offer these activities for adults, families, and groups.
This sounds awesome. How can we sign up?
To sign up or request more info, call River West Outdoor Educational Adventures at 414-263-4877. 414-263-4877.
Here's your updated forecast on the Shaw. Scattered rain showers likely this afternoon. Otherwise, cloudy skies expected. High temperatures reach up to 70. Easterly winds 8 to 15 miles an hour. Chance for scattered rain showers tonight. Lows dip down to about 55. Overcast skies. Chance for scattered rain showers tomorrow. Highs around 68. Cloudy skies expected. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Derek Height. Currently, it's 68 degrees.
Sometimes the truth hurts, but in a good way.
That's all you had to say.
This is The Shaw, 540 AM and 101.1 FM. W.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jade Madnair. And we welcome you to our Fun Friday, May 12th.
Zipping along, boys.
Zipping along. You said we have a text?
844-967-2789, 844-96-PARTY. Anytime you want to call and or text. And we were talking about what's going on at our southern border and immigration. Texter from the 414 says, since our politicians don't seem to want to do anything about immigration, maybe we need to look to our faith community to take a lead on this human life issue. Just a thought. And that's a good point. And I think a lot of faith communities have already done that and are trying to do that.
I think that there are a lot of faith organizations that are doing stuff. I know that. So in the story that we read that was from Axios, it was where the family was staying was called Opportunity Center for Homeless. And it's like many other operations at the border are overseen by nonprofits and religious groups to temporarily house new migrants.
And that's wonderful. And I applaud those agencies for that, but that's not enough. Congress has to do something about this.
And will they?
Well, again, we've talked to enough people who have said, even though you might just end up leaving them a message, call your lawmakers.
Yeah.
Bug them. Politely.
Politely. All right. Well, let's end the hour on a high note, and let's do our weekly headline quiz.
All right.
And see how Jane does. Okay. Number 1. Tucker Carlson announced he's debuting a new version of his show on which social media platform?
Twitter.
Don't even have to give the options. All right.
Sure.
Number 2. Which contraband American snack has become so popular in Israel that officials have confiscated 661 pounds of it in a single week? Do you need to read the options?
No, I know what it is. It's fruit roll-ups. God, I love this story. I'm going to become a fruit roll-up smuggler.
Have you tried the fruit roll-up with the ice cream?
No, this is the
We might
trend?
have to do this on air.
This is why
I have not.
This is why they're so in love
This
with
is
fruit
why they're so
roll-ups?
in love with this. This has been a TikTok trend. We'll get back to it. Let's finish the quiz and then we'll get back to
All
it. Number 3, which news outlet did Americans deem the most trustworthy in a new YouGov poll? Do you know this one without the
No, give me the options.
A, InfoWars, B, the Weather Channel, C, Wall Street Journal, D, BBC?
It's the Weather Channel.
It is the Weather Channel.
Yeah.
Number 4, Warren Buffett called one company in his stock portfolio a, quote, better business than any we own. Which company was he talking about? Sorry. A, Microsoft.
Okay.
B, OnlyFans. D, C, Dairy Queen. D, Apple. Now I need to know if Warren Buffett owns stock in OnlyFans. Or if OnlyFans is even a public company.
I have no idea. Give me my options one more time.
Microsoft, OnlyFans, Dairy Queen, Apple.
I'll go with Microsoft. I have no idea.
I actually have no idea either. And number 5, what is the name of the petite Basset Griffon Vendine, who was the first in his breed to win the Westminster Dog Show this week? Buddy Holly, Chuck Berry, Elvis Presley, Roy Orbison.
Chuck Berry. Completely out of the blue. I have no idea.
I'm surprised you didn't watch that. I feel like that would be right up your alley.
Dip in every once in a while.
All right.
I do.
Okay.
All right, how'd I do?
Submit 3 out of 5.
Oh, what?
Tucker Carlson said his new show is coming on to Twitter. Israeli officials confiscated 661 pounds of fruit roll-ups.
Oh, that's such a
The Weather Channel was deemed the most trustworthy news outlet.
I blew the last 2.
Buffett was talking about Apple.
Oh, okay.
Although I do want to know if he owns only parts of OnlyFans.
We'll investigate.
The winning PBGV is named Buddy Holly.
Oh, cute.
Yeah. So, but anyways, going back to the
fruit roll-up.
The fruit roll-up. So Israel keeps catching Americans trying to smuggle in the hot new contraband, fruit roll-ups. Officials say they intercepted 661 pounds of them in a single week after travelers tried to sneak in commercial-sized quantities. What's got people treating the lunchbox staple like exotic animal pets? A TikTok trend that suggests wrapping the snacks around ice cream.
That sounds stupid.
Just saying. So there's the original video is linked here. I'll send it to you and I'll put it in today's show notes.
But it doesn't melt.
I don't know. The original video has over 14 million views. Fruit roll-ups have become so popular in Israel that people are willing to pay $6 each for a fruit roll-up. Remember when Hassan Minaj gave Giannis a fruit roll-up and he forgot to take the wrapper off? He's like, no, man, you got to take the wrapper off. You just bite into it.
Well, you can't go smuggling fruit roll-ups in commercial size. You got to get a raincoat and you go, psst, buddy, I have strawberry.
But I'm so interested. I was like, I don't understand. Why are they confiscating them? Why are fruit roll-ups illegal in Israel?
Another thing to investigate.
Like, it's not a plant or something that's going to like infest anything. That's like, oh, like this is like a foreign bug that's going to bring a plague and kill all our people.
There's obviously some reason for it, unless they're just anti-fruit roll-up.
Which could be.
It's
kind of like Skittles. Like, is this food? I don't know.
It's like cheese food.
If you've tried this, if you've tried ice cream and a fruit roll-up, we would love to hear from you.
Absolutely.
And hear how it is. 844-967-2789. Otherwise, either way, actually, I should say. 1, we would love to hear if you've tried it. 2, maybe I have to go get some of this and we have to do this on air do a taste test on air.
I think we'll have to do a trial run.
Is it because it's supposed to be really warm next week, right? I think it's supposed to be like summer type weather. So I feel like, next week might be
the time to try it.
Might be the time for an ice cream snack with a little sugary fruit roll up.
We'll do some kitchen experiments on As Goes Wisconsin.
All right. Well, when we come back, I am so excited. A dear old friend of mine, Becca Grant, who is a journalist and author who's been covering reproductive rights in in the U.S. for almost 10 years, has a new book out called Birth: 3 Mothers, 9 Months, and Pregnancy in America. And also, she worked on an episode of This American Life this last year. And she just found out this week that they won a Peabody for that episode. So she will be here when we come back. I'm so excited to talk to her. And then at 12:30, we're going to talk to CJ Szafier, because Institute for Reforming Government just published their huge report of 25 cities, 4,200 miles. Like they put the work in to try to answer the question of what does Wisconsin want? So he will be here at 12:30. Very fun hour on this Friday. Stick around. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
If you love to spend time in the kitchen, elevate your cooking game with a pantry full of premium hemp products from Mary Jane's Hemp Shop in Waukesha. Mary Jane sells flights of Himalayan sea salts, raw sugar flights, local raw honey, and just in time for summer, a variety of salt rubs for meat and grilling. Not sure how to use the products in your own kitchen? Check out Mary Jane's YouTube channel for ideas and recipes. Elevate your cooking game at Mary Jane's Hemp Shop, 335 West Main Street, Waukesha, or online at maryjanespantry.shop.
You are never far away from your favorite radio station. We're always streaming on TuneIn and the Civic Media app. And if you missed your favorite show or game, listen to a podcast of it anytime on the app or our website, civicmedia.us.
You're listening to The Shaw, WAUK 540 AM Jackson, W266DR Waukesha, and always streaming on the Civic Media app.
This is the story of a very...
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Steel.
I'm Steve Kathan. New developments in the New York City chokehold case. The man who choked Jordan Neely on a subway has surrendered to face manslaughter charges, and there's reaction from Neely family attorney Dante Mills.
Mr. Neely did not attack anyone. He did not touch anyone. He did not hit anyone, but he was choked to death. That can't be what we represent.
Thomas Kenneth represents the accused, 24-year-old former Marine Daniel Penny, that is, who was claimed self-defense.
Is dealing with the situation with the sort of integrity and honor that is characteristic of who he is, characteristic of his honorable service in the United States Marine Corps, and he has his head held up high.
CBS News legal analyst Ricky Kleeman.
A reasonable jury would not believe that Daniel Penny intended to kill Jordan Neely. But a jury could believe, beyond a reasonable doubt, that the actions were not justified and that they were reckless.
The pandemic expulsion policy, known as Title 42, has expired as thousands press to get into the U.S. from Mexico. Reporter Chris Fox.
Migrants are arriving at ports of entry along the Texas-Mexico border. That's the report from Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. But so far, we're not seeing a tidal wave, as some had predicted. Border authorities saying that we've seen the expected influx of migrants over the past week, along with record apprehensions, about 30,000. Texas Governor Greg Abbott tweeting that the Texas National Guard soldiers he sent are holding the line.
CBS's Cammie McCormick tells us the U.S. is looking to increase its presence in the Arabian Gulf after a series of attacks on ships by Iran.
The National Security Council's John Kirby says Iran's behavior is unacceptable.
The past 2 years, Iran has harassed, attacked, or interfered with the navigational rights of 15 internationally flagged merchant vessels.
So the U.S. is building up its naval presence in the Gulf.
The Department of Defense will be making a series of moves to bolster our defensive posture in the Arabian Gulf. U.S. Central Command will provide additional details on those reinforcements in coming days.
The U.S. is also coordinating with allies to do the same.
The city council in Kansas City, Missouri, has approved a measure making it an LGBTQ sanctuary city. The mayor, Quentin Lucas.
To be in Kansas City, Missouri is to mean that you are in a city that accepts, promotes, and supports the rights of trans people. And I think that's something that's powerful.
Councilmember Heather Hall was the lone no vote.
People pay their tax dollars for us to do very few things. Trash, snow removal, potholes, sidewalks. They do not tell us to do social issues at the municipal level.
Well, checking Wall Street right now, the Dow is down 41 points. S&P is down 9. This is CBS News.
There are over 10,000 reasons why steel is not sold at Lowe's or the Home Depot. There are over 10,000 authorized local steel dealers. Find yours at steelusa.com. Lowe's and Home Depot trademarks of their respective
Real Chili's been serving up mouth-watering goodness to the people of Milwaukee since 1931. Their famous secret award-winning chili recipe is the same as it was back then and a local treasure. From lunch to dinner to late-night breakfast, Real Chili has you covered. And now you can bring the Real Chili to your next party, tailgate, wedding, or office gathering with their unbeatable catering options. And don't forget about their Real Love party packs, perfect for small groups, and pick up from their 2 convenient locations, downtown Milwaukee and near Marquette University campus. Visit them at realchili.com. That's realchili.com.
Are record high energy and water costs putting a squeeze on your fixed or limited incomes? With inflation rising at record levels and incomes not keeping pace, you might be one of tens of thousands of Wisconsin residents who are struggling to survive. While you may not ask for it, the Keep Wisconsin Warm Cool Fund and your local energy assistance providers are here to help. No Wisconsin resident should ever have to be without heat, water, or power. For a hand up, apply today and call 1-800-506-5596. That's 800-506-5596. Or visit www.heat.help. That's www.heat.help.
Enter a world of wizards, hobbits, and gnomes at the Gift Nook in Kewaskum. Explore an enchanted land with locally made, handcrafted gifts themed from nerdy to nature, and experience an interactive hobbit home. Visit the Gift Nook for a truly mystical shopping experience. 222 Main Street in Kewaskum, or call 414-839-0066. That's 414-839-0066, or find them on Facebook and Instagram. Man, this house is in need of a few upgrades. Windows, doors, even the basement needs a little TLC. With the Inflation Reduction Act, you can have all these assessed and addressed. It's there for you. Doesn't matter the age or condition. Call Green Homeowners United, the only woman-owned, union-affiliated residential energy efficiency firm in Milwaukee County. They'll take you through the journey of getting an energy-efficient and beautiful home. Claim all your discounts. Call 414-604-6450. That's 414-604-6450.
Zocalo Food Truck Park is so much fun. They have such variety in one place. You name it. Ice cream, bagels, sushi, tacos, pizza, to tasty sandwiches, and a fun full bar to boot with some craft cocktails and beers. You can even host a private party or reserve a heated hut. Support local food entrepreneurs with family and friends and Taste Milwaukee. Open Tuesday through Sunday. Find us at ZocaloMKE.com. That's ZocaloMKE.com.
This is the story of a very special woman. Just a few.
How many plays have you done over the years?
Oh, many. Many.
Would you do another one? Should we do a play? And put it up somewhere and do it as like a fundraiser someday?
That'd be great.
Moving Wisconsin forward, one joke at a time. This is Kristen Bry with As Goes Wisconsin.
Yada, yada, yada.
Hello, Wisconsin! Hello, Wisconsin! Welcome to the lunch hour of As Goes Wisconsin. We are so excited, and we're going to get right to the interview because our next guest is actually a very old friend of mine. I think we've known each other for 10 years-ish.
I think it's been 10, yeah.
Has it been around 10? Yeah. And so We lived in San Francisco at the same time. We lived in New York at the same time. Now she is based in Portland, Oregon. And she is a journalist. Rebecca Grant is a journalist and author who has been covering reproductive rights for the better part of the last decade. And she's written for everyone: New York Magazine, Mother Jones, Marie Claire, Vice. And she originally she is here to talk about her new book, Birth: 3 Mothers, 9 Months, and Pregnancy in America. But before we get into that, you got some news this week.
Yes, I did.
So we were very proud of our WBA 3rd place best interview, but you, my friend, worked on an episode of This American Life last year, and you found out this week that that episode won a Peabody.
Yes, yeah. It was actually the first audio piece of journalism I've ever done in a formal way. And so to have it be with This American Life, which was an incredible honor, and then to have that episode win an award is just I'm still kind of processing and wrapping my head around it. It's super exciting.
So what was the episode about?
So the episode was a full hour dedicated to the overturning of Roe v. Wade, basically. Okay. So the team started planning and working on the episode even before the decision came out. I don't know exactly when they started, but their plan basically was that it was anticipated that the decision was going to come out sometime in June of 2022. And so they had kind of stories in the episode mapped out and reporters in place so that the week after the decision, they could go live with this episode. And so there was this wonderful reporter and documentarian named Maisie Crow, who she was sort of embedded at Jackson Women's Health Organization, which was the clinic, the abortion clinic in Mississippi that was at the center of the case. And then, there were a few of us other reporters. And so I got pulled in because I did a story for New York Magazine last year that was about where to access the abortion or medication abortion in all 50 states, even if you live in a state where abortion would come to be banned. And so as part of that story, I interviewed an anonymous source who was sort of shipping people abortion pills outside of official legal channels. And so that source is sort of what led me to This American Life, where I did a story with a great producer named Aviva, kind of about this. We called her the pill smuggler. And so, yeah, it was part of this broader segment that also included the official abortion clinic. It included some people who were sort of on the other side of things, preparing for all these new babies that were going to be born. So yeah, it was really fun, and I still can't believe that it went on to win this award. I mean, I can. It was a great episode, but still.
And so, what is that? What did you just introduce yourself as that now? Hi, Rebecca Grant, Peabody winner.
No, only when my husband wants me to do something I don't want to do, and I'm like, you can't ask me to take out the trash because some of us have contributed to a Peabody Award-winning episode.
That's wonderful. I don't have a Peabody, Rebecca, but I'm going to use that excuse.
So I guess before we get into the book, give us a bigger picture of your work, because I've known this as your friend as far as the different stories you've covered, and this has become the story of the last year, right? Up until Roe getting overturned, I think there was a lot of us who knew that it was coming or expected that it was coming. There was a lot of women who do not live and breathe politics or follow this stuff. And so they were really blindsided. And we've seen the after effect of how angry they are about it in elections. And we've seen so many pieces have happened in the last year. But you started working on this and this topic of reproductive rights, of pregnancy, of abortion, of so many different angles of it. I mean, what year did you start kind of narrowing in on this reproductive rights as being your main beat?
Yeah, because Kristen, when you and I met, I was still working at VentureBeat, which was a tech news site, doing that thing in San Francisco. And it was really when I struck out on my own as a freelancer. So that was it was the end of 2014, but let's just say 2015. And I became a full-time freelancer, and I had this realization that I could write about whatever I wanted, and I could write about things that I really cared about, which, sort of in the first part of my journalism career, you're just so happy to have and thankful to have a job in the first place. And so I was sort of an unlikely tech reporter. Like I didn't even have a Twitter account or iPhone when I got a job at a tech news site. So, that was a bit of a learning curve. So becoming a freelancer, becoming self-employed was kind of my chance. And reproductive rights has always been something I've cared deeply about. Like my mom brought me to feminist marches growing up. And so I started in 2015 as having that as my beat. And I remember at the time, people would sort of say like, I can't believe that's enough for its own beat. Like it was not on the radar, kind of on the mainstream consciousness. I don't think in the same way that now nobody, I mean, of course, like everywhere needs a reproductive rights reporter. And so when Trump got elected in 2016, and so much of the discourse around his election was what's going to happen with the Supreme Court, and because he was saying all of these really sort of hostile, vitriolic things about abortion rights specifically to kind of drum up support. And so I was in this position of having been sort of one of, I think, maybe a handful of people. It's fair to say probably more than that, but like who were already reporting on that issue as a beat. And so I just sort of was able to continue to write these stories. And as I was reporting predominantly on abortion rights, I was exposed to other aspects of kind of reproductive healthcare more broadly. Like, I would interview a source who would then tell me about something that had to do with maternal healthcare. And so the more that I started reporting on people in the reproductive justice movement and like learning about their work, the more that my kind of scope expanded. Like I always said reproductive rights, but what I really meant was abortion. But then it really started to expand to encompass all of these other things, which of course included maternal healthcare, which ended up being the subject of my first book.
We're talking to Rebecca Grant, who is a journalist and author, and her new book is called Birth, 3 Mothers, 9 Months, and Pregnancy in America. And I think that's an important, what you just said, even the switch that happened for you is that reproductive rights is bigger than just access to abortion. And it's like options in how you have your baby, which I think is a lot of what this book ends up being about, is birthing centers, midwifery, being hospitals, like the impact that doctors and lawyers have had on how we have babies. And so I guess knowing where you came from, of it started as talking about abortion and like the chipping away of that and the access to that. But then what was it that kind of inspired you to have your first book? This is your first book, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Yeah. Have your first book be more so about birth.
I think it was a couple of things. But maybe foremost was that as I was, doing this reporting, like I was just talking about, I really came to see very clearly and learning from people that I interviewed how all of the issues that really brought me to care about abortion rights, bodily autonomy, human rights, agency, and sort of control over not just your reproductive life, but just sort of your life overall and the ways that those things are related, civil liberties, like all that stuff was just as true for maternal health care as it was for abortion rights. But at least in kind of the mainstream media, I wasn't really seeing that many people who were looking at it that way, who were looking at how you're treated when you give birth, what happens to you when you give birth, where you give birth as like a reproductive rights or a feminist issue, as sort of intrinsically related to that impulse towards bodily autonomy that is sort of very familiar to talk about with abortion. And so it felt like it was more of an open field in some ways. There were so many people, after Trump got elected, who started covering abortion, and I was still doing that, but I was finding there were so many stories over maternal health care that just kind of weren't really being told in the same way. And I did this big story in 2018 that was about women in Alabama who were traveling out of state to give birth with midwives. And I was just fascinated by this, of like, why can't you give birth with a midwife in your own state? Also, why do you care so much about midwifery that you're like renting a cottage over a state line and driving there to give birth? And so that sort of interest in like what people's options and access looks like and why they make the decisions that they do was really what sort of set the foundation for the book, and why, even though it is meant to be general in the sense of like, I'm following 3 first-time mothers to learn about their experiences in this very intimate, closely reported way of like, how are you feeling with your nausea today? And, like, do you feel like your boobs are like whatever, the sort of like intimate, sensitive questions. It was also always from the beginning going to be focused on midwives and birth centers, because even though I was wanting to look at the maternal health care system more broadly and some of the problems within it and the challenges, I really also kind of wanted to look at this really unique and fascinating subculture that has a fascinating history and that people don't know as much about as sort of the entry point.
And it's funny because we don't have to stick on this, but I'm assuming that the midwifery thing's so interesting to me, and like the fact that people were having to leave Alabama because that's what they wanted. Because it reminds me of that story that happened in April of the family whose baby got taken away because they had like a midwife deliver their baby at home. And was it jaundice or what did they get reported on that then the CPS came and like took the kid?
Yeah, I believe it was a jaundice issue, which is like super normal and happens all of the time. There's a huge amount of stigma against midwives and against families who pursue out of hospital birth. And one of the things that I talk about in the book is the ways in which to make out of hospital birth as accessible and as safe as possible, integration with the mainstream healthcare system is really important. Like there's all of this research and studies that shows that. And so when you have this sort of level of antagonism or skepticism between organizations like, hospital organizations or like child protective services type groups, and this idea of out of hospital birth as being kind of reckless, then those are the kinds of stories that you get. And of course, in that case too, it was racism, because it's like who is given the benefit of the doubt in terms of their parenting decisions.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Rebecca Grant will still be here when we come back. We're going to dive more into what is in her book and what the research and the reporting looked like. Stick with us. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
Have fun on the lake this summer. Treat yourself and find the watercraft you want at Action Boathouse Showroom just south of 59 on 164 in Waukesha. Check out the fun and versatile Sea-Doo switch with its powerful Rotax jet engine. Action Boathouse Showroom also has a selection of luxury fishing boats or pontoon boats from 7 top USA manufacturers. The team at Action Boathouse Showroom is excited to help you launch into the sun this season and onto the lake. Action Boathouse Showroom, just north of 59 on 164 in Waukesha. The 4 most dreaded words. My computer is down. Oh boy, that bites. Remain sane. PC and Pat together will fix the pain. Rated #1 PC doctor in Southeast Wisconsin. Great service, great rates, and fast service with no trip charge. Experts with PCs, laptops, network servers, protection, backups, and can even help you remotely. Click PCandBack.com or call us at 262-706-3235. That's 262-706-3235. Remain sane. We fix the pain. Love the outdoors but lack the gear to explore it? River West Outdoor Pro Shop has everything you need. Rock climbing, snowshoeing, kayaking, and more. Don't know what you need? Come visit the shop located in the basement of Milwaukee Turners at 1034 North Villar Phillips Avenue. Their friendly staff will help you find what you need. For questions and hours, call 414-272-1733, extension 16. 414-272-1733, extension 16.
Here's your updated forecast on the Shaw. Scattered rain showers likely this afternoon. Otherwise, cloudy skies expected. High temperatures reach up to 70. Easterly winds 8 to 15 miles an hour. Chance for scattered rain showers tonight. Lows dip down to about 55. Overcast skies. Chance for scattered rain showers tomorrow. Highs around 68. Cloudy skies expected. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Derek Height. Currently, it's 72
On
degrees.
air, online.
My baby don't care for clothes. My baby don't care for shows. My baby cares for me.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane Matnair. And we are talking to Rebecca Grant, journalist and author of the new book, Birth, 3 Mothers, 9 Months, and Pregnancy in America, which is now available from Avid Reader Press. And we will link it to the show notes for today on asgoeswisconsin.com/listen. So I guess in knowing kind of the journey of like, you wanted to do a book about maternal health, and knowing that kind of the untold stories that were happening there, how did you go about deciding to do it? Because this is one birthing center, 3 women, but all in Portland. And so kind of the decisions as far as you had the bigger idea for the book, doing it in multiple cities versus one city, like choosing who you wanted. Like obviously they had to be consenting women who wanted to be part of it. But as far as like setting up how you were going to approach like is a very big topic, how did you go about that?
When I was first developing the proposal and the idea and talking with, my agent, talking with my editor about it, one of my initial impulses was actually, what if I follow people in different cities? Or what if I follow one home birth person, one birth center person, and one hospital birth person? Like those are just sort of some of the ideas I was kicking around. And so how I sort of landed on the approach that I did, there were a couple of reasons. I mean, one honestly was COVID, because I reported the book. I started reporting in 2020 before the vaccines were coming out. And so it just wasn't like I was going to be traveling all of the time to report. But also, and maybe more importantly, I felt like there would be a greater cohesion to the book if there was a shared sense of place and setting. So I love the idea of being able to kind of embed in a birth center and be able to observe the midwives as they went about their day-to-day lives in order to sort of tell the history of how that birth center came about, tell the history, a little bit of like the building itself. I just sort of felt like that would create the sense of unity and cohesion rather than just 3 completely separate stories that were sort of being smushed together because the mothers shared the fact that like I found them, I guess, in common. And so, I live in Portland. So of course I was looking at birth centers in Portland. And Andaluz, which is the birth center where the book really focuses, was at the time was the busiest birth center in the state, and it had been around in its first building since the late 90s, and so it sort of was very well established in the community, and they were busy. And of course, as you touched on, one of the other big pillars was being able to have the reporting access that I needed, and the midwives. The birth center's founder, a midwife named Jennifer Gallardo, she was just immediately on board with the project. Like I honestly expected to have to make a little bit more of a pitch, but she kind of pretty quickly got it and was excited about the idea and supportive and sort of said like, yeah, have at it. Whatever my midwives who are working at the birth center are comfortable with, and of course, whatever their clients are comfortable with, like that's fine. Like, I didn't need to ask her permission to go into the birth center or anything like that. And so having that level of sort of trust and access was really important. And so I found my 3 characters. The first one, Jillian, she was actually the birth center's office manager and the front desk person. And she had gone to midwifery school, done her training at Andaluz, and then she became their office manager before taking her midwifery test. And so she was pregnant with her first child, working at Andaluz, and planning a home birth. And so that just kind of ticked so many boxes for me because I knew that it would be a way to explore some about what it means to be a midwife today and how you become one, as well as the history through her story. And her story was a sort of portal into the day-to-day life of Andaluz because she was helping to manage it. And she was having a home birth. And so that kind of idea I touched on before of like maybe showing birth across environments, I could kind of do that in a way that still felt cohesive. And then Jillian introduced me and connected me with a number of the birth center's clients who might be interested in talking, who were also first-time mothers. And so that was what led me to Tanika, my second character, who was actually a nurse, an aspiring labor and delivery nurse who was giving birth at Andaluz. And I was drawn to her story for a number of reasons, but one of them was that the fact that she was a nurse who wanted to work in a hospital birth setting, but for her own birth wanted to give birth in a birth center. I found that really interesting, and I thought there was a lot to explore there. And then my third character, Allison, was a little bit of an outlier because she didn't really think of herself as like a birth center or midwife person, but she'd had a traumatic miscarriage experience where she felt pretty disaffected with the kind of mainstream hospital care she received. And that led her down this journey. And I liked the idea that the reader could kind of follow her journey with her if they weren't someone who was well acquainted with midwives or birth centers. And so through these three characters, even though they're highly idiosyncratic, specific individuals, I was also able to address all of these larger themes in the book that were really important to me, like history, as I've mentioned, like the US's sky-high rates of maternal mortality, like the just the sort of ballooning costs of our maternal health care. So all of those larger contextual things are really woven with those individual narratives.
And so I guess because we could probably talk about this for a lot longer than we have you in the minute and a half that we have left, what is like the big takeaway or the thesis that you hope readers get out of the book?
I think that it's really important. It was really important to me in the book that I wasn't saying, I think that everyone should give birth outside of a hospital. Everyone should give birth with a midwife. People shouldn't have medication or something when they're giving birth. Like, I don't believe any of those things. I think midwifery is an incredible option for people who are eligible, which, usually means people who are having a low risk pregnancy. And it should be a more mainstream part of our healthcare system. And there's a ton of research to back that up. But there are all these reasons why that's not the case, one of which is access. It's sort of like what we talk about with abortion. Just because you have the right to an abortion, does that mean you can get to a clinic? That's kind of true in some ways with birth centers and midwifery. So it's really this idea that everyone should have access to a range of options that best fit them and sort of best fit their needs, and that the mainstream kind of idea of going to give birth in the hospital, that at least certainly I was raised with, is not necessarily like the be all end all sort of best approach. And so I think it's just trying to challenge our thinking of sort of what is normal and what we should accept as normal.
Well, I can't wait to read it. And so I'm so happy that we got you on the show. I'm so happy to see your face and talk to you. Rebecca Grant is a journalist and author who's been covering reproductive rights since 2015. And her new book is called Birth, 3 Mothers, 9 Months, and Pregnancy in America. We will link her Peabody Award-winning episode of This American Life and the book on today's show notes. It's so good to see you, friend.
So good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Have a great day. All right, when we
Bye.
come back, CJ Szafier will be here to answer the question, what does Wisconsin want? This is As Goes Wisconsin. To answer the question, what does Wisconsin want? This is As Goes Wisconsin. Back, CJ Szafier will be here.
We're talking the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
And taking names in the process. This is The Shaw, 540 AM and 101.1 FM, WAUK.
CBS News brief. A 24-year-old ex-Marine is charged with manslaughter in the New York City subway chokehold death. Dante Mills is the attorney for victim Jordan Neely's family.
Mr. Neely did not attack anyone. He did not touch anyone. He did not hit anyone. But he was choked to death.
Daniel Penny appeared before a judge and was released on bail. At the southern border, a bus carries migrants to a processing center hours after Title 42 expired. CBS's Camilio Montoya Galvez.
Border officials reporting an average of 10,000 daily migrant arrivals in recent days, but we have not yet seen a spike in the last few hours.
National Security Council spokesman John Kirby says the United States is taking new steps because of Iranian attack
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane Madnair, and we are going to jump right into it because I already know we're not going to have enough time to talk about all the things we want to talk about. But CJ Szafier, president of Institute for Reforming Government, is back because they published a pretty massive report and a massive undertaking of the last year of going to 25 cities across Wisconsin, 42 listening sessions, 5,300 miles across Wisconsin to listen, basically, and listen to different people in Wisconsin about what they want. So how is that as like a whole? What word would you sum that up with, CJ?
Incredible, tiring, and enlightening.
Okay.
And obviously a lot of credit goes to my colleague, Madison Hartman, who managed the project. In 2006, former Speaker of the Florida Assembly, Marco Rubio, before everyone tunes out.
Little Marco?
Wait. So Rubio, when he was Speaker of Florida, he drove around the entire state of Florida and held all these listening sessions. And he just wanted to hear from the people of what they thought Florida should do.
Yeah.
So we read that book and we had a similar idea of let's go around Wisconsin. Let's talk to school board members in rural and urban areas. Let's talk to small businesses, manufacturers, farmers, and let's actually figure out, let's not tell them what we think that they should do, but actually let's sit down and listen and learn. So what we did, we had one simple rule. We just listened. We asked a basic question, which was, what problems do you have? And what policies or what solutions do you have for the state of Wisconsin? And it was absolutely amazing to actually just go around and listen to people. And you would just be surprised across the party, from Democrats to Republicans to independents. People just want to be heard because the biggest takeaway that we had is Wisconsin has a significant amount of problems, and we have such a gorgeous state. We have so many natural resources, a lot of potential, a lot of things going for us. But we have a lot of real problems from mental health, drugs and opioids, taxes and regulations and bureaucracy, and just real frustrations with the status quo that really goes beyond partisan divide, that goes beyond occupation, that really transcends wherever you are in the entire state.
And so because I want to get into kind of the biggest issues that you heard across the different groups, but also just kind of like what kept coming up. But I guess, how did you find, was it like how when they did a major league and they needed all those extras in Milwaukee and they just put like flyers up, or like how did you find the people that you ended up talking to?
Well, the first rule of thumb is to hire a rock star person. And that's what I did with Madison Hartman. And Madison was able to really just fill rooms with people just honestly just going through our network, but also just cold calling. Like, we don't know a lot of farmers in southwestern Wisconsin.
Yeah.
We don't know a lot of people in Arcadia. So we actually just had to force ourselves to get outside of our comfort zone. And then a lot of it was just kind of figuring out, like, who did we want to hear from? We can't talk to everyone. That's why there was a poll that was done, the findings, a morning consult poll that was released a few weeks ago. We can talk about that. But really just kind of going outside of our comfort zone. And you would be surprised going into northeastern Wisconsin, going and talking to school board members and principals, and people just, again, want to be heard. And, one of the stories that I'll never forget is sitting down in one of the most rural school districts in Wisconsin. And there was a 5th grade teacher, and we were asking the 5th grade teacher, what are the problems you have? How can, what policies are there to improve it? And she responded and she said, there's a lot of these discussions on funding and school choice and, the things that get the headlines. She said 1/3, 1 out of every 3 kids in her class in 5th grade was inflicting self-harm last year.
What?
1 out of every 3 kids in her class was inflicting self-harm. When you think about that, those are 10-year-old boys and girls who come from broken homes. The drug crisis has just ravaged this county in northeastern Wisconsin. And they're coming off of COVID, school shutdowns, school closures, but just a general, just whatever you think, just a disruptor of life, like the loneliness. And the school district, and I think in my experience, it was common all throughout rural Wisconsin, was they're hiring mental health practitioners. And we're now asking like school districts, if you just think of where we've gone from the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years, we're asking so much of teachers, so much of school districts. And when I heard that story and I heard that like, well, now the district feels like they're the ones that has to step in, and they're hiring mental health practitioners because there isn't enough mental health treatment in northeastern Wisconsin. It really kind of thinks of you of like the kitchen table issues, especially the things that get the headlines, aren't necessarily the things that are keeping teachers, school board members, and a lot of parents and family like members up at night in certain parts of the state.
So I guess that's kind of a good segue into what it feels, because there's a lot of different ways to cut the data. There's you can look at this by farmers versus manufacturers versus retailers and what people do. You can look at different regions. But you can also look at it like what are the big things that across the board came up again and again and again. And it seems like big one was mental health and also the health and healthcare in general, right?
Healthcare in general, college students, we sat down with a number of college students and they had the similar mental health issues. And, you know, they were citing a study, I think it was done by by University of Wisconsin, that showed that over 50% of UW students have reported having some sort of anxiety in the past year, about 60 to 70% for girls. I thought that number was incredibly high. I mean, you think that these issues are there in college, but all these like students thought they thought that number might have been under. I mean, it's just how mental health issues in college are now kind of the norm, and it's just kind of accepted. But one thing in like education, something that we've discussed in the past is reading and literacy issues. We sat down with a group of teachers in Kenosha, and this was something that kept coming up. They were 8th grade teachers, and their frustration was that they're being now charged with, they're evaluated based on how kids read, but they're being sent these kids into the system that don't know how to read. Because of something we've discussed in the past, Wisconsin continues to elevate kids throughout the system. And once you can't read by 1st or 2nd grade, you're not learning in 4th grade. You're not learning in 5th grade. You're pretty much lost in like the system. And a lot of frustration actually from teachers that they thought that they were being unfairly treated because of Wisconsin's literacy problems.
So that the teachers were getting blamed for the literacy problems?
When you're in like 8th grade, like when you're an 8th grade teacher and there's all these students that you're getting who aren't equipped for 8th grade for reading issues, for math, they don't know how or why they're supposed to like educate those students because they're already 2-3 years behind.
We're talking to CJ Szafier, president of Institute for Reforming Government, about their new report that came out this week, What Wisconsin Wants. And we will link that because there's a lot there. We're certainly not going to be able to touch on all of it simply in a half hour for today. But I guess other things that came out of schools, I mean, obviously I would imagine maybe teacher shortage and did it differ at all? Because you in the report, you separated out public school administration and teachers and then charter school administration and teachers. And so what was kind of the overlap versus the different problems that you heard from each group?
Well, look, teaching, and this week is National Teacher Appreciation Week.
We know, we can cover that.
You know, teachers are the backbone of our K-12 education system. And it was actually kind of interesting. We did tour one of the most successful charter schools by like the ratings out in Beloit Lincoln Academy. And they have teaching shortage is an issue there. Teacher shortage was an issue of the schools that we toured in rural Wisconsin. Teacher shortage was an issue that we hear in Milwaukee. And like, this is something that is holding back every single sector, whether you believe in school choice, this holds back private schools. If you believe, if you're in rural Wisconsin or Milwaukee or the WOW counties, like this is an issue that's everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we've touched on this in the past with what are the solutions. But as far as this needs to be accepted as just one of this general bedrock problems in K-12 education, and until we fix it, it doesn't seem like that's something that's going to be advancing. We're not going to be able to advance our K-12 system.
And so healthcare mental health, schools, what were some of the other big things that felt universal, or at least universal for Wisconsin?
Well, there was certainly in the, to quickly tie up the education sense, there's a little bit of a frustration with just, and I use this term for, people can use whatever term they want, but just bureaucracy, right? Like, why do we have to go to DPI to hire, there's districts, and some of them, they don't want their names out there for various reasons, but there's districts that we've talked to who want to help with the teacher shortage, go into the trades and bring in someone who, is an expert in culinary arts or an expert in engineering and bring them in to teach. And there's just a frustration of just bureaucracy
with insurance coverage to help protect what's most important to you, all at a price you can afford. So while you're juggling work and kids while trying to keep an eye on your future, we'll make sure we're one of the first ones there when you need us most. What should you do next? Call Matthew Holbrook, your country financial representative, at 414-332-2137 and chat about your insurance needs today. 414-332-2137.
Here's your updated forecast on the Shaw. Scattered rain showers likely this afternoon, otherwise overcast. High temperatures reach up to 72, easterly winds 8 to 15 miles an hour. Overcast skies tonight, chance for scattered showers, lows level off around 55. Chance for scattered rain showers again tomorrow. High temperatures reach up to 68, cloudy skies expected. For
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane Matnair, and we are talking to CJ Szafier of Institute for Reforming Government about their big report that they put out this week after 25 cities, 42 listening sessions, talking to people all across from Wisconsin about what problems they see, what solutions they would like to see. But similarly, you forwarded me a survey that came out this week from State Policy Network. And that has some interesting top lines too, as far as like what people care about. And I think I'd love for you to go over some of what you interpreted from their survey. But also I think that there's something interesting with all of this as far as like what do politicians talk about? What do we talk about as like the media? And then what people are actually caring about. And where is the overlap and where is like the stark misses?
Yeah, and so when we did our our listening sessions or ideas raisers all throughout the state, we're very clear that what we're doing is just trying to get into communities to listen. Last couple of weeks ago, there was a poll done, margin of error of like 3 of Wisconsin voters by Morning Consult, that really just kind of dug deep into kitchen table issues, which just asked about a policy problem and said, is this a problem, a significant problem, or somewhat of a problem to you and your family? And I thought the numbers were astonishing because we're getting high numbers for some of this.
Super high.
Like things where it's like you'd only expect is it time for Aaron Rodgers to move on? That's like the kind of like harmony.
Jokes.
But when you have like 89% of the state, 89% of voters that say that drugs and addiction are a problem in Wisconsin, to me, that's astonishingly high. I mean, when you're looking at a scientific poll that's done and, tries to represent and sample the entire state, 85% of voters said that the cost of healthcare is a problem. 83% of voters said mental health is an issue. 80% said cost of childcare is an issue. 75% said middle-class tax rates are an issue. And there's like 69% said childcare is an issue too. So when you look
at
access to, so when you look at some issues that got about 70% or more of the state says that they're an issue. 7 of every 10 people in the state, according to this poll, say it's a problem. Drugs, cost of healthcare, mental health, cost of childcare, access to childcare, middle-class tax rates. I mean, you're really seeing that these are kind of the things that people think are holding back their families and the state. And I think it's absolutely, one, it's terribly concerning because I think those are all really challenging problems. And I also think that it's something that's a bit of a wake-up call for policymakers and organizations such as IRG of like, we need to be focused on fixing what ails Wisconsin because some of these things are really big problems.
I just want to make sure a vast majority of Wisconsinites, I assume, did not agree that the wealthiest people in Wisconsin are struggling and should get a tax cut. Did that come up at all?
I actually don't know. I
I'm
don't.
just asking. I'm just curious.
I don't know if the
'Cause
question
I
was.
worry, CJ.
I don't know if the question was put in that specific way.
I'll help you next time.
But I can dive into the crosstabs and get back to it. But I do think it's fascinating that 75% of the state says that middle class tax rates are a problem.
Well, and it's interesting because it's that middle rate. Yes. So there's a tax thing there, but there's also in the whose problem does it become to solve some of the other things that they're listing as problems, as drugs and addiction, cost of healthcare, cost of childcare, access to childcare. So as far as like if it's the government's responsibility to start fixing these things, and it takes money to do that, where does that money come from? Some of it comes from taxes. So some of it is like it's wonky, it's policy, but it's also like, and I guess that becomes now the actual debate of like, what are the policies that, if the end goal is to help this thing, that thing, and the other, let's debate about how we get there. But it also just feels like right now, is this the debate that you feel like is happening in Madison?
Well, before we get into that, so they also asked about trust in government, trust in state government, not trust in federal government, which no one has, but trust, but trust in state government. And 18% of Wisconsin voters trust state government.
Wow.
18%. That's compared to this poll is done across the country. Across the country, it's 29%. So there is something amiss here when we actually, Wisconsin voters have less trust in their state government than other states in their state government. And I think it's because of what you just said. You look at all these problems that, again, these are issues that are getting 70% or more of Wisconsin voters say that these things are a problem. Mental health, child care, middle class tax rates. And there is a sense that this isn't the debate that's been happening. Maybe there's a sense of this isn't the stuff that's discussed or debated on the campaign trail. We just got off of, a very, to put it mildly, a very aggressive gubernatorial race. Maybe there was a sense that these things weren't really debated, fair or unfair. A lot of the times it's hard to get through because to some extent, I would say maybe this stuff isn't really reported on in the media as much as it should be.
And that was part of the question that I was like, where do we, at least on this show and this network, like, what do we choose to talk about that is actually a problem versus being salacious and riles people up? Because that's, and those are sometimes the easy things to talk about because, oh, I'm going to get callers on this one, versus something that's actually substantial and like is a problem. And one question, did they ask how much they trust local government?
I don't believe so.
Because that would be interesting to see if there is a gap between how much people in Wisconsin trust their mayors and city council and people that are in their community versus how much they trust the legislature, the governor, and what's happening in Madison.
Across the board, there was less trust. One of the findings was across the board. When you loop in like trust in federal government, it's also lower in Wisconsin than in other states. But I think, but again, to me, some of that makes sense. I mean, we've been, in our travels across the state, people are hurting. And, this comes up in a number of ways, right? Is it the Obama voter? Is this the Trump voter? Is it the Obama-Trump voter that's out there? The Biden voter, right? There's people who, this is why the pendulum keeps swinging in Wisconsin, because we have these massive issues that really haven't gotten fixed.
Well, next time you're back, we'll take one of them and talk about how do we fix this one, because half-hour segments only allow for so much time. CJ Szafier, as always, lovely to have you here. Thank you. Happy Friday. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
All right, taking a break for the top of the hour news, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about Milwaukee Diaper Mission and WGirls. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
Heat.help.
Feeling down, anxious, depressed? You are not alone. According to the World Health Organization, approximately 280 million people have depression, but the majority never receive treatment. At WellPoint Care Network, they can help. Their outpatient clinic staff are both qualified and caring, not to mention highly trained in partnering with you on your healing journey. Make an appointment today at wellpointcare.org. They serve all ages, infants, children, and adults. Both in-person and virtual services are available. Learn more at wellpointcare.org.
Man, this house is in need of a few upgrades. Windows, doors, even the basement needs a little TLC. With the Inflation Reduction Act, you can have all these assessed and addressed. It's there for you. Doesn't matter the age or condition. Call Green Homeowners United, the only woman-owned, union-affiliated residential energy efficiency firm in Milwaukee County. They'll take you through the journey of getting an energy-efficient and beautiful home. Claim all your discounts. Call 414-604-6450. That's 414-604-6450.
Tens of thousands of Wisconsinites live with a debilitating chronic disease called lupus. Build awareness and raise funds by challenging your friends and family to register today for the 21st annual Walk to End Lupus Now Milwaukee. The walk will take place on the morning of May 13th at beautiful Hoyt Park in Wauwatosa. Adult registration is just $30 and children under 15 are $20. Prices will increase after May 10th, so make sure you sign up now. To pre-register, go to lupuswi.org or call 414-443-6400.
This is the story of a very...
Welcome to the No Sour Ha Ha Fun Time Power Hour.
You need some whoop 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 boing. You know?
Moving Wisconsin forward, one joke at a time. This is Kristen Bry with As Goes Wisconsin.
Yada, yada, yada. Hello, Wisconsin!
Hello, Wisconsin. Welcome to the No Sour Ha Ha Fun Time Power Hour. On this Friday, we are 1 hour away from the weekend, which we're so excited about.
We are excited.
So on May 19th, Friday, May 19th, so a week from today, Sail Away, an event presented by WGirls Milwaukee, is bringing the city together for a night to remember, all to support Milwaukee Diaper Mission, a Milwaukee nonprofit empowering families in need. And here to talk about both of their organizations and the event itself is Megan Johnson, who is co-founder and executive director of Milwaukee Diaper Mission, and Liza Lemkuel, who is the WGirls president. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you. It's
Thank
exciting
you so
to be
much.
here.
So we're definitely going to talk about the event, but I guess let's start with Megan. You've been on the show before, but as for any of our new listeners, tell us a little bit more about Milwaukee Diaper Mission.
Yes, happy to. Thanks for having me this afternoon. Milwaukee Diaper Mission is Milwaukee's first and only basic needs bank. We're a nonprofit organization that supports families and menstruators in Milwaukee with basic essentials like diapers and period supplies for free.
There you go. And Liza, tell us about WGirls.
Yeah, so our mission is to empower women and children in underserved communities through volunteering, fundraising, and outreach. We're a membership-based organization, 100% volunteer, and we work with other smaller nonprofits throughout Milwaukee to help them reach women and children with their services.
So probably an obvious overlap as far as why you guys are working together for this event. And so I guess tell us more about is this the first time that the two organizations are working together?
No, actually. So that's kind of how this came to be. We actually volunteered with Milwaukee Diaper Mission back in fall, leading up to the point where we usually start accepting applications for our spring gala. So we got to know the organization, we got to know Megan, and volunteer with them, hear the story, and we were just super captivated by it. I had a great application, and we just knew it was the right fit for the benefit, the gala this year.
And so for the gala, who have you, if you want to give examples of which organizations you've benefited in the past?
Yeah, so last year we actually donated $12,000 to Future Urban Leaders. They're pretty great and to work with, and they do amazing things for students in Milwaukee. And then the year prior to COVID, we gave about $11,000 to the Women's Center in Milwaukee. So prior to that, it was a kind of a different format, but the last 3 years has been this style of selecting a single beneficiary. So,
and is that the goal again for this year, around $12,000?
This year we're really shooting for 15,000, and we really think we can do it, especially because of how great the mission is for Milwaukee Diaper Mission and some of the growth of our membership and the people who are involved. So we're shooting for that 15,000 this year.
So Megan, if Milwaukee Diaper Mission got $15,000, what would that translate to as far as how many people that would help, or what the products that would be able to be delivered?
That's huge for us. That's a big chunk that we would be able to put toward purchasing inventory. We're also looking forward to the future in investing in a new facility that's larger, that can house more product and more volunteers and more events. So there's lots of different things that would, that amount of money would really support us with. This is such an incredible opportunity because as a small nonprofit, we're a staff of only 3 people, and we plan and execute all of our events throughout the year. So to have another nonprofit to work with to actually, plan out the day of logistics and do all the fundraising on our behalf is just an amazing opportunity. It frees us up to be able to work on other projects like distributing product to thousands of families in the city of Milwaukee.
And so let's talk about some of the fun parts that WGirls is doing. So the theme is Sail Away.
Yes.
And I should also not bury the lead here. I'm seeing the event. So I will be there on May 19th. And so I'm also, as I've been announced and pretty open with, I'm pregnant. So I'm also struggling with what I'm going to wear. So what does a Sail Away theme look like? Am I supposed to wear like a sailor costume?
No, we like to describe our kind of options from kind of homecoming cocktail level of dress all the way up to, if you want to get real fancy, kind of prom style, true gala dress. So we really just want people to be comfortable and have fun, but it's a great excuse to dress up in, whatever colors and styles that you'd like. But yeah, somewhere between that like cocktail-y hour and a full gala is absolutely appropriate for the event.
Okay. And then once people are, because this is open to the public, this is an event that is not just for WGirl members. This is an event for people to get a ticket to enjoy. Yeah. So what are some of the things that are planned for the night?
Absolutely. So every ticket actually includes your first drink of the night, a gift bag, heavy appetizers, and then access to all of our amazing goings on. So we have, dancing with an awesome DJ, a bunch of photo opportunities, some cool backdrops, a little photo booth. We have a ton of silent auction and raffle prizes that you can win. We have a couple of games that have some really cool big prizes. So definitely come for those. We'll also be offering boat tours if the weather permits.
Oh, because it's at the Starling, which is right on the water.
Exactly. So staying in theme there. There'll also be a cigar bar where you're out on the patio. And then probably one of the big things that we want to include. So if everyone comes, they bring either diaper or period supplies, and that will enter them into a raffle for our largest prize of the night, which is a cool Lake Geneva boat tour afternoon. So definitely plan on doing that.
Fun fact, Liza, I'm from Lake Geneva, so I can speak to how amazing those boat tours are.
Yes.
I wonder if that big house has been torn down yet. We covered that there was like a massive house in Lake Geneva that some fib bought and is tearing down. And so I kind of want to get out there and see it before they do that. So maybe I will bring plenty of submissions of diapers so I can win that.
Love that.
And so I guess as far as what should other people know, obviously it's going to be a super fun night, but as far as either organization of kind of what is the impact and like the need right now? Because in Milwaukee, we obviously know that there is a lot of families in need, a lot of women in need. But as far as kind of speaking higher to Megan, maybe the women that you work with and you see that are receiving the products, but also Liza in the different organizations you guys have partnered with in the past, like what are you seeing as far as actually working with people who are the recipients of the help that is needed?
Yeah, I mean, we see the need increase every day, essentially. We've only been around for about 2.5 years, but in that span of time, the majority of that was during the pandemic. We've just seen the need skyrocket. We've also recently seen food share being cut, which is affecting families across our city. So we're, really working hard to make sure that we're supporting as many children and families in Milwaukee as possible. Currently, we're serving about 2,000 children per month with diapering supplies and over 500 menstruators per month. So we're, addressing as much of the need as we possibly can, but it's continuing to grow. And so that's why we're continuing to expand as we're able to.
And Liza?
Yeah, I think when we partner with all of these nonprofits, first and foremost, because we are like a membership-led organization, so many people don't know how many of these small nonprofits exist in especially the Milwaukee area. And because of how small they are, there's such a need for support and help. So when you partner or when you become a member with WGirls, you start to get to know these nonprofits, and depending on which ones we partner with, you really develop relationships with these people who desperately need ongoing mentor support, ongoing volunteer support. So you can definitely plug in. But I definitely think resources are slim, even at a staffing and volunteering level. So anything that people can do to step up and fill some of those gaps right now is really important.
Absolutely. Well, in the time that we have left, where can people get information if they were interested in sailing away on May 19th?
Yeah, absolutely. So the event is posted to our Facebook page as well as Meetup. Honestly, you can just Google WGirls Milwaukee Sail Away and you will find our event page where you can purchase tickets. There are all different kinds of sized tickets too. So the more people you bring with you, the cheaper the ticket is. So definitely look out for that and come to the event.
And then for people who maybe don't live in Milwaukee or can't make it that night, Megan, where could they get more information about Milwaukee Diaper Mission, donations, ways to get involved?
Absolutely. So our website is very thorough. There's a lot of information on our website about the work that we do, why we do it, how we do it. So that's a great place to start. We are currently doing a diaper drive to collect size 5 diapers. So if folks don't live in the area, but they do have an Amazon account, they can go onto our Amazon wish list and send some boxes of size 5 diapers our way. We'd be greatly appreciative of that. We're also leading up to National Period Poverty Awareness Week in a couple of weeks. And that is a great time to donate period supplies, which can also be found on our Amazon wish list, or folks can just hit the donate button on our website as well.
Absolutely. And we will link all of that to our show. Because Megan, I need to follow up with you because now that I have this kid's on the way, I need a new tutorial on the cloth diaper. Because talking to you last time when you were on, I was like, I think I could maybe do this. I don't know if my husband could do it, but I think it's worth reinvestigating to learn a little bit more.
Absolutely. Well, yes, first of all, congratulations. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you.
And we are here to offer support as far as cloth diapering goes. We offer virtual cloth diaper basics classes every other month. So you can learn about cloth diapers from the comfort of your own home, taught by cloth diapering experts. So join us for one of those maybe.
Awesome. All right. Well, ladies, thank you so much for joining us. I will link all of the information on our website at asgoeswisconsin.com/listen under today's show notes. Can't wait to see you in a week.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks.
Can't wait. Thank
Bye.
you.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be back in a minute with Brewers tickets. We have Brewers tickets. I forgot about that. All right. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
I get by with a little help from my friend, with a little help.
The four most dreaded words. My computer is down. Oh boy, that bites. Remain sane. PC and Pat together will fix the pain. Rated #1 PC doctor in Southeast Wisconsin. Great service, great rates, and fast service with no trip charge. Experts with PCs, laptops, network servers, protection, backups, and can even help you remotely. Click PCandBack.com or call us at 262-706-3235. That's 262-706-3235. Remain sane. We fix the pain.
If you love to spend time in the kitchen, elevate your cooking game with a pantry full of premium hemp products from Mary Jane's Hemp Shop in Waukesha. Mary Jane sells flights of Himalayan sea salts, raw sugar flights, local raw honey, and just in time for summer, a variety of salt rubs for meat and grilling. Not sure how to use the products in your own kitchen? Check out Mary Jane's YouTube channel for ideas and recipes. Elevate your cooking game at Mary Jane's Hemp Shop, 335 West Main Street, Waukesha, or online at maryjanespantry.shop.
Man, this house is in need of a few upgrades. Windows, doors, even the basement needs a little TLC. With the Inflation Reduction Act, you can have all these assessed and addressed. It's there for you. Doesn't matter the age or condition. Call Green Homeowners United, the only woman-owned, union-affiliated residential energy efficiency firm in Milwaukee County. They'll take you through the journey of getting an energy-efficient and beautiful home. Claim all your discounts. Call 414-604-6450. That's 414-604-6450.
Here's your updated forecast on the Shaw. Scattered rain showers likely this afternoon, otherwise overcast. High temperatures reach up to 72. Easterly winds 8 to 15 miles an hour. Overcast skies tonight. Chance for scattered showers. Lows level off around 55. Chance for scattered rain showers again tomorrow. High temperatures reach up to 68. Cloudy skies expected. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Derek Height. Currently, it's 70 degrees.
From our little corner.
You're a douche, you're a big, busy douche. Everything you said was a lie. You're a douche, you're a douche, you're a big, busy douche. But you're still a really, really handsome guy.
Thank you.
You're a douche.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane Matnair. And before we get to our Friday segment of Am I the Sphincter, which we are going to squeeze in before PJ Leisch, the bug guy, is going to join us at the bottom of the hour to talk about summer bugs. But we do want to give away Brewers tickets.
Yes,
because
we
we have
do.
2 more Brewers tickets, a set, 1 pair, a couple, any way that you want to phrase 2 tickets. We have 2 tickets together sitting next to each other for the Brewers game coming up at, where did I put the information? But of course you can, where did I put the Brewers information? It's for Saturday's game.
6:10.
6:10. And reminder that these are really good tickets. They're
good seats.
They are club level tickets. And so the entire experience is lovely, where you don't have the lines are shorter when you're getting your beers and your concessions and everything. You can see the field and it's a really good view. So it's on the club level, but we have tickets to give away for the game against the Kansas City Royals in Milwaukee for Saturday's game at 6:10. And a reminder that Civic Media you can always hear the Brewers game not across the Civic Media network, but on Oshkosh Air Support, 98.3 FM and 1100 AM. Throughout the Fox Valley, and also catch it on WRCE News from the center in Richland Center, 107.7 FM, 1450 AM. And we're just going to do first caller.
844-967-2789, 844-96-PARTY. And you're going to pick up those good tickets for Saturday's game at AmFam Field. Brewers and the Royals. Just give us a call right now, 844-967-2789.
It's a great Mother's Day gift.
Oh,
if
Mom
you've
would like
forgotten,
that.
if you've forgotten to get your mom a gift,
And you can pretend like you bought them.
yeah, you can pretend like you splurged.
Yes. See, Mom?
We won't tell anyone.
I got these excellent seats just for
All right. So as Jane's going to answer the phone as the callers come in, and I am going to read this week's Am I the Sphincter, which is, of course, taken from from Reddit, where the subreddit of Am I the word that we're not going to say on air? It's like a sphincter, where people post their own conundrums and ask for input on whether or not they are the jerk. And so this one is, it's already been removed. I found it this morning And on Reddit, it's actually already been taken down. And I don't know why. It said, sorry, this post has been removed by the moderators. But do not repost this. And so I'll try to sum it up. But it was basically a woman she only goes in the office on certain days. And you missed that. They already took they took it down. The moderators took it down. So the one we were going to do today, we can't even read.
Wow.
I didn't think it was that bad. Why would someone take it down?
They must have been getting a lot of bad feedback or something.
I'll have to investigate at the commercial break, but I'll see if I can retell it from memory. And because you read it, right?
I skimmed it.
Skimmed it. So basically, it was a woman who was very frustrated because every time she goes into her office, so she's in like a hybrid work situation. And when she goes into the office, one of her coworkers consistently comes over and just talks to her about, let's call the woman who's writing this Kate. It's not her name.
Okay.
And the woman who comes over and talks to her, Janice. So when Janice comes over and talks to Kate, all she talks about is her 2-year-old, I guess, and she like just talks about her kid. And so finally one day, but it slows Kate down, and she's like, it's distracting.
Interruption to her
I'm
work
only
day.
here because I have to be. I don't like working from the office. It's distracting. And so I guess finally one day she snapped at Janice.
Talking about the 2-year-old.
Talking about the 2-year-old because she was having a bad day or something happened. So then later in the day, she apologized and she said, I'm sorry if I was rude. But then Janice like brought something up again about the kid. And then at that point, Kate's like, listen, I don't want to hear about your kid. I don't care. This is why I don't come to work to hear about it. And Janice told her that she was rude for saying that. And so that was initially the post of Am I the Sphincter? And and so now I have to go back and see why that was so bad that it's now gotten taken down. I have to say I would never. This is the kind of scenario if I was really annoyed with it, like I'd talk to you. Like if we had a coworker who annoyed the crap out of me,
right?
Who like every time I was trying to get stuff done was just like chit-chatting in my ear, I probably would never say anything to their face. I would tell behind their back, I would probably talk to you.
We would snark about it.
Which is maybe not any better, but at least to their face of being like, listen, I don't want to talk to you about your stuff. I don't care. It's really bold.
Couldn't there have been a slightly better way to do that? Like, gosh, I'd love to hear more about little Janice, but I have to go to the bathroom.
So yeah.
I have to go out to my car and drive it around the parking lot because the battery will die.
Yeah.
I don't know. Come up with something.
Oh, my phone's ringing.
Oh my gosh. I know.
Hi,
have
Mom.
an emergency appointment.
I
I have to leave right now.
Yeah. I think that's just part of the common courtesy of what we do to say, to avoid, like to try to give subtle hints.
Well,
to get people to get the point.
Yeah. And you would hope that if you do that enough times, Janice is finally going to get the point, although there's no guarantee of that.
There is no guarantee. Not everyone's super self-aware.
By the way, congratulations to Suzanne, who called in and picked up those tickets for Saturday night's game.
Congratulations, Suzanne. Have so much fun. Unless you're bringing your guests and want them to think that you bought them, feel free to tag us.
Yes.
Tag As Goes Wisconsin, tag Civic Media, and any pictures you take at the game. We would greatly appreciate it. All right, when we come back, well, first, I guess if you have thoughts on who's the jerk in that scenario that we just had to tell from memory, 844-967-2789. I would say she is the jerk. Not for feeling, I understand the frustration of like a chatty Cathy.
So do I.
But like, I think it's part of just common courtesy as you suck it up and you leave signals and you drop hints of sorry, like, cut it out versus just being like, you're annoying.
And so is your child.
And so is your 2-year-old. Ugh. All right. When we come back, PJ Leisch, UW bug guy, will be here. And we're going to talk about lanternflies. It's tick season, all these great bugs that are here for the summer, what you can do to stay safe. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
Hold it, everybody. That's my phone. Hello? You're a douche, you're a big fizzy douche. Hold it, everybody. That's my phone. Hello?
You're a douche.
This is As Goes Wisconsin.
Broadcasting to Southeast Wisconsin from Waukesha. Broadcasting to the world on the Civic Media app. This is The Shaw, 540 AM and 101.1 FM, WAUK.
CBS News Brief. Marine veteran Daniel Penny is out on bond after making his first court appearance for allegedly using a fatal chokehold on homeless New York City subway passenger Jordan Neely. He's charged with second-degree manslaughter. John Jay College of Criminal Justice professor Greg Donaldson describes why he's charged.
Is reckless indifference, which means that he knew or should have known the danger of what he was doing, that it would be fatal, and that he was recklessly indifferent to the consequences of it.
The end of Title 42 has brought a sharp increase of migrants at the southern border. Sister Norma Pimentel, who's with an advocacy group, describes how she's helping.
The major challenge is making sure that we do have a space where we can bring them in, help them, take care of them so they can contact their families.
And one of two inmates who escaped from a Philadelphia prison has been captured. Police took Nasir Grant into custody. CBS News Brief, I'm Wendy Gillette.
Continue the conversation online. Find and follow Civic Media on Facebook and on Twitter.
We're all familiar with the 3 whats. What is it? What can it do for me? And what does it cost? At Country Financial, we can help you find the answers with insurance coverage to help protect what's most important to you, all at a price you can afford. So while you're juggling work and kids while trying to keep an eye on your future, we'll make sure we're one of the first ones there when you need us most. What should you do next? Call Matthew Holbrook, your Country Financial representative at 414-332-2137 and chat about your insurance needs today. 414-332-2137.
Hey, this is Matt from Design Garden. Remember when the internet was new? Back then, you had to leave your house to start a business. Companies used to pay programmers bags of cash to get online. Now, small businesses can get online with a Facebook business page, or Squarespace, or Google My Business, or WordPress. But which tools should you use? Can you afford to go down the wrong path? Design Garden uses modern tools to build your website the right way. Find us online at design.garden. Again, that's design.garden.
Zocalo Food Truck Park is so much fun. They have such variety in one place. You name it. Ice cream, bagels, sushi, tacos, pizza, to tasty sandwiches, and a fun-full bar to boot with some craft cocktails and beers. You can even host a private party or reserve a heated hut. Support local food entrepreneurs with family and friends and Taste Milwaukee. Open Tuesday through Sunday. Find us at ZocaloMKE.com. That's ZocaloMKE.com. Have fun on the lake this summer. Treat yourself and find the watercraft you want at Action Boathouse Showroom just south of 59 on 164 in Waukesha. Check out the fun and versatile Sea-Doo switch.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane Matnair, and we are so excited to have back PJ Leisch, who is a UW entomologist, also known as the bug guy, the Wisconsin bug guy. It's been a bit. It's been since the end of last summer since I think we had you on, so we're so excited to have you back.
Yeah, it's good to be back here, Kristen.
So I guess, I mean, with the summer and the great weather, which we're all excited about, I have been in a inordinate good mood this week because of the sunshine. But with that comes bugs. And already I've seen like a fly. I think yesterday I was getting ready for the show at my house and I could hear a fly buzzing. And I was like, oh yeah, this is the trade-off. And so what should we be expecting, at least right now, from like in the end of spring, early summer? What are the bugs that are hatching right now that we should be aware of?
Oh gosh, kind of everything and anything.
Okay.
I feel once it really starts warming up and we're having some temperatures and like the 60s and 70s and even 80s, that really starts to wake up a lot of our insects.
PJ, this happened this morning when I was getting ready for work, and it's a beetle that's got to be an inch and a half long, way up on the bathroom ceiling. Where does he hang out all winter? Can they just flatten themselves to hide into teeny tiny crevices?
Some can. There is the multicolored Asian lady beetle. That's the ladybug species that likes to sneak into your home sometimes. And those can basically squish their body down to fit in through little nooks and crannies. And they can make it through a gap of about 3 millimeters, which if you stack 2 pennies together, that's the gap. They just, because they have this convex shape and they just smush themselves down a little bit and squeeze in. So really hard to keep them out sometimes.
But an inch and a half, that feels like a big one.
This is a pretty big bug. I think he has an apartment somewhere in our house.
Yeah, if it's that big, I'm really not sure what that might be, Jane. You'd have to send me a picture of it to give me a better idea. Usually the things that I think of sneaking indoors in the fall aren't that large. There's one that comes to mind that's maybe 3/4 of an inch to maybe an inch on a good day, but something that big, I'm not quite sure. I would be more inclined to think it's something that's snuck in recently.
Okay, good to know.
Can we just do that as we find bugs? Can we just tweet at you pictures of bugs and be like, hey, PJ, what is this?
You can. People do that to me all the time. I mean, that's a key aspect of my job, is to run the UW Insect Diagnostic Lab, and I identify bugs for people. When I go out and I give talks, and that's what I tell folks. In a nutshell, I get paid to identify bugs, which is really pretty cool when you think about that.
Totally. Have you ever been stumped? Or been stumped recently?
I mean, it does happen. And especially these days with like smartphones and everyone has these digital cameras in their pocket. Sometimes it's a matter of the photograph being kind of limited quality. And I look at it, I'm trying to zoom in and blow it up on my screen, and I just can't see enough features from that. And so there's plenty of cases where I tell folks, I'm sorry, it could be this, could be that. I really need to see a sample under the microscope to get like the final word on it. So that happens all the time. But every once in a while, I have had some things that just completely stump me, or I kind of tuck them in a folder in my inbox as unsolved mysteries. And maybe 2 years from now, I'll figure out what it is.
And then 2 years from now it's an invasive species that we have to worry about.
And that gives me time to come up with a theme song for your mysterious insect segment.
So I guess as far as the obvious things we know are coming, tick season is here. And so, yes. And so what should people be knowing as far as how to stay safe and look for ticks and check for ticks on themselves or their dogs?
Yeah, so it definitely is tick season, and my wife happens to be a small animal vet, and I think she reported her first cases at her clinic here in Madison. It was sometime in like early March. It doesn't need to be that warm, and some of the ticks can actually be active potentially on snow on like a really warm late winter day. But I generally tell folks, if it's warm enough that the snow is gone, even if it's February, you could bump into ticks. They can be active pretty late in the year. October into November, they can be active pretty earlier in the year too. So ticks are definitely out. And when we think of insects and related creatures that bite us, they suck our blood, what scares me more? Is it ticks or mosquitoes? Hands down, it's ticks. I mean, we hear about West Nile and mosquito and stuff like that, but just in terms of the caseload that we see, I think nationwide, it's something like 30,000 Lyme cases reported annually. Those are just reported
nationally
ones.
or in Wisconsin?
Nationally.
Okay.
But they think that's a gross underestimate. They think the actual number of cases might be close to like 500,000 or something.
What?
So it's really scary. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to track because sometimes the symptoms may be pretty subtle. We think of Lyme and we think of that classic bullseye rash, but not everyone gets that. And if you have darker skin, you might not be able to see that. And so we think there's a lot of cases of Lyme out there that maybe get diagnosed as something else, or it's just hard to figure out what's going on. So ticks, really, that's something that that scares me. In terms of what to do about it, long sleeves, if it's not too warm, that's a great way to have a physical barrier between your skin and the tick. If they can't get to your skin, they can't bite you. A challenge is that ticks can often climb pretty well. And so you could brush against some grassy areas, they get on you, your shin, your knee, something like that. And they can climb up here pretty quickly, in a matter of a couple minutes. So long sleeves can help. Another piece of advice is if you know there's just a certain park or hiking trail that has a lot of tick activity, it might be better to go somewhere else. Or if you're going there, take additional precautions. There's some really good repellents. DEET is kind of the old gold standard. Not everyone likes DEET. It can be oily and folks just don't like it for a number of reasons. There's some other ones at the hardware store. Picaridin. If you're looking for more of a botanical plant-based one, there's repellents that contain oil of lemon eucalyptus that has been shown to work pretty well in studies. So that's a more plant-based option. I will caution, though, you can go on Facebook and all sorts of social media places, and you'll see these home recipes for make your own tick and mosquito, and it's essential oils and stuff like that. And I would not trust my health or my family's health to stuff like that. So I make sure to use the repellents that have science backing them. And then one other thing is both for us, ourselves, our kids, family members, but also our pets, is do the tick checks. That's so important because for a deer tick, if it's carrying Lyme, and at the moment about 40 or so % of adult deer ticks in the state are carrying Lyme, which is a scary number.
Yeah.
They really have to be attached on you for a pretty significant length of time to effectively transmit Lyme. It's somewhere in the ballpark of about 36 hours. So if you go
Oh, wow.
hiking and you're out hiking a couple hours and later that day you find a deer tick and you remove it, your chances of getting transmission of Lyme go way down. So that timely kind of daily tick check, if you're spending time out in tick habitat, is a really critical step.
For both you and your pet.
Yes, exactly. In pets, of course, you can chat with your veterinarian. There's all sorts of treatments. Some of them you put behind the shoulder blades. Other ones are ingestible ones, that sort of thing. But there's a lot of options out there for pets too.
PJ, what purpose do ticks serve in the grand scheme of the ecological life? I mean,
The circle of life.
Yes, who eats them?
Oh gosh, not a whole lot of things actually eat them. I mean, birds to a certain extent might. The same ticks that can get on us, they will sometimes go onto birds. And if a bird is cleaning itself, it may pluck those off and ingest them. There's kind of this urban myth out there that possums are just these tick vacuums. I've heard it and seen it on Facebook and stuff, that they're just going around like hoovers, sucking up ticks left and right. And that's not really the case either. I've tracked down some scientific papers looking at like what's in the stomach of a possum, and it's usually not ticks. It's all sorts of other stuff. So in terms of their role, though, it's really hard for me to make a case other than they're simply trying to do their thing and go about their business and raise their young. But for everyone else, it's just kind of a hard pill to swallow.
It's just that, it's that creepy, the crawly things.
We're talking to PJ Leisch, who is the UW entomologist and director of the University of Wisconsin Insect Diagnostic Lab, also known as the Wisconsin Bug Guy. So you posted on your blog, it's spongy moth season, and I have to admit, it's the first time I've heard spongy moth. It sounds like an insult I'd throw at someone on Twitter.
So
spongy moth.
So that one, it actually used to be called gypsy moth.
Okay.
So if you've heard of that one, but it turns out when you dig into the old literature for gypsy moth, it was named that, and it was essentially used as part of an ethnic slur against
Yeah.
a certain group of people. And so the Entomological Society of America, about a little over a year ago, had started going through some of these insect common names and looking at ones that were deemed offensive and switching them to something else. They use the term spongy moth. That's actually a term used by the French in the native range of this insect to refer to the egg masses, which have this kind of spongy consistency to them. So they said that makes sense. We're going to use that name. So same insect, but it's now known as the spongy moth. And this is something I've been watching really closely for the last couple of years. It has been trending upwards. And it turns out if we have a rainy year, there is a fungal disease that keeps their populations in check. So there's been that recent HBO show, The Last of Us, where
Yes.
the fungus turns people into zombies. And that's like based on a hint of truth, and it's just blown way out of proportion. So this is a fungal disease that's super specific to spongy moth. If we have a rainy spring, it tends to keep their population in check. The last 2 springs across much of the state have been really pretty dry, so their populations have just skyrocketed.
Oh, wow.
So there's a ton of egg masses out there, and in southern Wisconsin, they just started hatching within about the last 8 or 9 days, and they're hatching at the moment. So we're going to have a ton of these little caterpillars out there. They can just strip oak trees of all their leaves. When I looked at statistics from the DNR for defoliation, if we go back to like 2019, there were no acres defoliated in the state. Last year, it was over 85,000 acres. So depending on how the weather is the next couple of weeks, that could really shape how good or bad of a year we have for this particular insect. So it's something that folks should definitely be watching for, especially if they've had issues the last couple of years and if they have some high value oak trees in their yard. I'd keep an eye on those.
So, and what do you do if you think you see them? Like, how do you, not a blowtorch. We learned that last time.
Usually not good to try attacking insects with fire. That can end badly. There's quite a few tricks that you can do. I mean, the first thing is this is an insect that spends probably 9 months of the year as eggs. And so you can go in your yard, and if you find an egg mass, you can scrape it off with a putty knife and
Okay.
send it to the landfill, and that'll, take it out of the equation. At the moment, folks can do what are called sticky bands. You basically wrap like duct tape or saran wrap around your tree, the trunk, and then you can put something called tanglefoot, which is just really sticky stuff. It's sticky glue-like substance, or Vaseline. The little caterpillars will get stuck to it. As they're trying to walk up the trunk, you can also tie a strip of burlap around the trunk, and the larger caterpillars will hide under that. And then you have to go out every afternoon and you can knock them into a container of soapy water. But those are 2 ways that are basically pesticide free that you can do in your own yard to help deal with those if you have them.
That's a good one to know. All right. Well, with the minute that we have left, any other bugs that people should be on alert for as we head into May and June?
Well, Memorial Day is coming up. That's probably going to mean some mosquito activity. We have finally caught up. If you check the U.S. Drought Monitor, we've gotten some decent amount of snowfall, rainfall. We'll probably have more mosquitoes this year than we did last year. So that'll be something to keep an eye on as well as we creep towards summer.
All right. Womp womp.
And congratulations, by the way, PJ. You and your wife are expecting a baby girl soon.
Oh,
Yes.
in the same club.
Thank you. Yeah, we're in that final 2-week countdown. So I've got my hospital bag packed. We could be out heading to the hospital any moment now.
Any moment. Well, congratulations. Good luck on the first couple of months once baby comes. But PJ Leisch, thank you so much. It's always a fun having you here.
Thanks for having me.
Have a great day. All right. When we come back, we will wrap up this week's episodes. Today's episode, we have a great sign off from WGN. It really made me laugh out loud. So you don't want to miss that. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
Hi, this is Lindsay Keinert at 5:40 a.m. and 101.1 FM WAUK The Shaw. Here are upcoming events happening in the area.
Enjoy free live music this Wednesday, the 10th, at the Art of Joy in Cedarburg from 6 until 8 p.m. Join them in their lounge. Kids are welcome. Check out the Arista Wine Dinner Thursday, the 11th at Harbor House, presented by Bartolotta Restaurants. Call 414-395-4900 for more details. Check out a free Friday movie matinee presented by the St. Francis Public Library at 2 p.m. Popcorn is provided. It's at 4230 South Nicholson Avenue. On Saturday the 13th, Gathering Place Brewing in Tosa has their tap room and patio grand opening at noon. Check them out, 7208 West North Avenue. And finally, Mother's Day brunch at the Pfister Hotel this Sunday starting at 9 a.m. 414-273-8222 for tickets.
If you have an event you'd like us to share, let me know. Email me, Lindsay Keinert, at info@civicmedia.us.
The four most dreaded words. My computer is down. Oh boy, that bites. Remain sane. PC and Pat together will fix the pain. Rated #1 PC doctor in Southeast Wisconsin. Great service, great rates, and fast service with no trip charge. Experts with PCs, laptops, network servers, protection, backups, and can even help you remotely. Click PCandBack.com or call us at 262-706-3235. That's 262-706-3235. Remain sane. We fix the pain.
Here's your updated forecast on the Shaw. Scattered rain showers likely this afternoon, otherwise overcast skies. Daytime highs approaching 70, winds out of the east 8 to 15 miles an hour. Chance for scattered rain showers tonight, lows level off around 55, overcast skies. Chance for scattered rain showers again tomorrow, high temperatures reach up to 68, cloudy skies expected.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane Madnair. Today just flew by.
It really did. It really did. It was great.
It was great.
We had a real busy week, and thank you to everybody who's joining us for the first time and texting us for the first time and calling for the first time, and it's really been terrific.
It's really been fun. It's a great week of shows. Anything fun coming up this weekend?
My sister and I are going, this will make you laugh.
Okay.
We're going plant shopping tomorrow.
Nice. For indoor plants, outdoor plants?
Outdoor plants, for the patio plants.
Okay.
This is when I am still very friendly to plants.
Yeah.
It's the beginning of our relationship.
Yeah. And you're like, you're bringing me happiness.
Yes, and I love you, and I'll go and water you and check on you and scooch you and read to you at night. And then by the end of July, you better figure out what you're going to do for yourself.
Because I'm over
done.
you.
Yes.
I'm over you.
I've moved on.
What's your go-to plant shop?
We love Milligers.
Okay.
In Racine.
Okay.
They have, and there are many wonderful nurseries in Wisconsin, but that just over the years has become our traditional place that we go to. They have one greenhouse that is full of nothing but petunias.
Oh.
And the bright pink and bright red and just these screaming colors. It's so vibrant. It's wonderful.
All right. That sounds great.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, I'm going to the Battle of the Badges tomorrow night.
That's right.
And so I'm excited to see the boxing match and see what turnout looks like for that. But then we have birthday parties. But yeah, mostly just hanging out. Probably try to do something, call my mother on Sunday.
It's Mom's Day.
It is Mom's Day.
Don't
So
forget.
reminders to call your mom. Do more than just text your mom. Call your mom if you're not going to actually get to see her in person.
Definitely.
But yeah. So otherwise, probably same per usual. So I wanted to end on this though, because I feel like I saw this yesterday. This is 2 days in a row now that we're putting clips from WGN, the morning show. I think it's the morning show. Maybe it was their news. So yesterday we played the Chunkosaurus, who was the fat turtle.
Oh, and go to our show notes to check out that video.
Yeah.
It's this gargantuan turtle that they found in the Chicago River. It's incredible.
And then yesterday after the show, I saw another video from WGN, and let's just play it.
We have a strongly worded email from Nick to address. He says, first, I'm a big fan of WGN News, accurate, professional, and timely. What I am not a fan of is anchors saying thank you to every reporter after every report.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that.
Oh, brother. Please stop thanking reporters.
Yeah.
It's their job.
Yeah, it is their job.
Just move on and start reading the next
Right.
story. We as viewers cannot care if anchors feel the need to be over polite to field reporters. Well, Nick, we agree and we fix the problem.
That's the latest live from Wrigley. Nancy Liu, WGN News.
Nancy, you parishioners at his
Kelly Davis, WGN News.
Kelly, you. Chicago police.
They're live all morning long from Lollapalooza here in Grant Park.
All right, Dan, that does it for us this morning.
Thanks so much.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine watching your nightly news? Think of your local news anchor, which on whichever channel you like to get your local news from. You know, if you're down here in Southeast Wisconsin, it might be Fox 6 with Ted Perry, Steve Chimay, TMJ4, Benson. Like, Charles Benson. I'm trying to think of some of these people, but obviously, whether you're in Madison or Wausau or Richland Center, like whoever your local newscaster is, that instead of thanking the real field reporter every time they came back to the anchors, they said, F you. F you, Bob.
Is it really that bad for them to thank their reporters? Good heavens, we thank people for doing their jobs all the time.
I know.
You know, I like to thank my waitress or waiter when they bring my food, and I say thank you. That's part of their job too. Should I not say that anymore?
I know. It was such a weird complaint.
Right. Of all the things, of all the myriad things,
That you could-
especially with people who are in news that you could find to complain about it. Stop being so darn polite. What's
Stop
wrong
thanking
with
each
you?
other. That's their job to report. Stop thanking them for doing their job. And so I love that they had some fun and played with it. I was like, would you rather us do this?
And whoever did it, because they took old clips, I assume, and just
I'm sure they just bleeped out thank.
yeah.
And so when you add a bleep to anything, you assume that it's a curse word.
Oh gosh, that's funny.
And so it was, yeah. So I thought that was very funny.
That will also
maybe
be-
you and I can start signing off like that.
It'll be a short show. That will be part of our show notes as well, right?
Yes, I'm gonna put that in
and
there.
Where can people find those?
They can always find the show notes at asgoeswisconsin.com/listen. So each episode, if you're unfamiliar, gets so we do the 3-hour show every day. We post them as 3 different podcasts. So instead of, having a over 2-hour podcast as one post, then we have 3 44-minute posts because the commercials get taken out. And then I post those as 3 different blog posts on the website, where sometimes it's not right away because I have things to do after the show.
Well, right.
But I go back and I try to put in all the links to the different articles we referenced or the videos we talked about, so people can have, a little bit more context if they want to go back and get that.
Well, and it's nice we cut the podcast down to a little more consumable.
Yeah.
You're gonna be working out in the garden tomorrow, and you can listen to one as you're working outside or do whatever. And make sure you download the Civic Media app, available at all the app places, and you can listen to shows from all across the state.
Yep. If you download the Civic Media app, you can get all of the different stations. So if you're trying to find, if you don't live in Fox Valley, if you don't live in Richland Center, but you want to listen to the Brewers game, you can download the Civic Media app and listen to the Brewers game on either of those stations there. And then you don't have to worry about the connection to how strong the signal is and anything like that. And so you can get and pick and choose what you want to listen to. And we're actually updating the app soon. And so there's going to be the new and improved app is going to, the podcasts are going to be able to be there. Like it's going to be great. And so listen to the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, download the Civic Media app. But as always, we enjoy when you call, we enjoy when you text, we enjoy when you're part of the show. So if you have any feedback or suggestions,
people you think we should interview,
shoot us an email at asgoeswisconsin@civicmedia.us. And that'll about do it for us for this week. We got a busy week next week, already filled with tons of guests that I'm really looking forward to. But I guess for now, we will say adieu. So long, farewell.
Happy Mother's Day, everybody.
Happy Mother's Day. And we'll see you next week. This has been As Goes Wisconsin.